Welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back to playing deltagreen tonight. However, we might be ending a little early tonight. If my Trey can't answer this extraordinarily important quiz question that nobody else on the stream is allowed to answer, or in the chat, or in Discord, or honestly, just anywhere. So my Trey,
oh no,
whether or not we play tonight and enjoy our weekends, it's dependent upon this question. Do you know the origins of the name Adventures in Lollygagging? No one say a damn thing. I will kill your character.
I mean, you're going to do that anyway.
Brutal car accident going through the Vegas Strip.
I know this one.
You will. The rest of them do.
I do,
better.
But I want to give everybody else a chance to.
That's very kind. But I would like your answer first, because I've heard all of them.
I don't know, and I should.
All right. Everybody have a good night. We'll see y'all later.
No.
All right. We're back.
Well, no, I need to know. You can't ask that question and not tell me.
Well, the thing is, Maitre, if you really wanted and needed to know, I feel like you've been around us long enough that you could have found out the answer to that question.
Could have, baby. Could have, and I should have.
I'm guessing your brain works like mine, which is in a calm moment, I could probably give you this information, but now
how is this not calm?
I don't have the information even in a calm moment.
Okay,
everyone, look at Long. That is the calmest face you'll ever see.
Through the game.
Which is who I'm going to go to next, by the way. No one help him. I want to see if he remembers.
But I know this.
I know you do. I trust you and Melissa the most. Ashley probably just underneath it, and then Long. Long, do you remember where the origins of Adventures in Lollygagging came from?
Yeah, I've heard the story a couple times. It's vaguely in my memory. It's something about babysitting. I know the poster.
I'll take it. I will take that answer. Stephen, you want to offer additional content? You're very excited.
Yes. So the classic movie Adventures in Babysitting, with the added reference from Bull Durham, where you're all a bunch of lollygaggers. So you mix them together to make it Adventures in Lollygagging.
Yep.
Okay, I love that. That's awesome.
I
know your origin story.
You're way around the infield. You lollygag way around the outfield. What's that make you, Earl? Lollygaggers. Molly, have you seen Bull Durham yet?
No.
Ashley, have you watched it?
I didn't even know what Adventures in Babysitting was.
The fact that he remembered babysitting, I took that as a win, and I just kept going, because that is a win.
That's fair.
Yeah. So the reason I was thinking a lot about the origins of our name recently is because I've been reading some Outgunned, which we're probably going to be playing after Alien on Mondays, and I'm trying to do mashups of movies to come up with a cool idea. I had a really cool idea and I shared it with Steven, but he said it sucked. That is exactly what you said. I screenshot it and I'll share it on Discord later.
I have screenshots to prove you wrong.
And so I was thinking how Adventures in Lollygagging was definitely a mashup of Adventures in Babysitting, and I was thinking maybe we could do an Adventures in Babysitting Outgunned, but then I thought that might get a little dark. So maybe I shouldn't do that. But anyhow, we're playing deltagreen tonight, everybody.
We are. We're going to Vegas.
What is up with the vibes today? I don't know what's going on.
It's your fault, man. It's your fault. You know what you did.
It usually is.
You know what you did. You know exactly. Sometimes we joke about it being Steven's fault. It really is Steven's fault this time, and he knows what he did. All right.
But we are going to Vegas.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't decided. We'll see. We'll see what the traffic's like.
And we are going to do drugs.
That's happening whether we go to Vegas or not.
We may not make it to Vegas. So
it's true.
We may crash on the way.
Okay. Let's do this recap. Back in the desert, the Sighing Desert, You had your 4-wheel drive, your SUV, and you had some survival gear this time. You all very easily reached the coordinates of what the supposed majestic facility might be, at least the coordinates that were on the satellite photos that you were given in your briefing for Operation Windblow. All you could find, however, some debris scattered around here and there, but otherwise no signs. You did run into a pair of people who are claiming to be part of the search team, Sarah Wen, a name that you have heard before, and Carlos Ramirez. The two were very much off-grid, and they had come across this inexplicable signpost there in the middle of the desert that was warning of trespassing on a private facility, and all of you had seen that same sign in the photos that you recovered from Emily Hernandez's camera. Before leaving the desert, before leaving that little interaction you had with them, there's a familiar voice came over on their radio on a private channel. You heard the voice of Dr. Robert Marshall, who has been helping, a private citizen who's been helping to coordinate efforts searching for these hikers. And Wen and Ramirez kind of like dismissed it a little bit, and then they quickly left on their ATVs. Eventually, night came around. You all decided you were going to camp out in the wild, thinking, hey, sounds like fun. And you all had some strange experiences. Some of you heard voices of your bonds over the radio. So I think Chopra, Price, and Weaver all did. Inferno, you saw a bird of prey, this golden eagle creature that you've seen a few times now. It's been popping up, not just in Arizona. And then both Weaver and Carr, you had very peculiar dreams. Carr, you saw this skull-headed figure who you've seen in some of the images in Emily Hernandez's camera. And they offered you a clay cup, and once you consumed it in the dream, the stars seemed to shift and kind of go nuts, and the horizon started flickering, and you saw this mirage-like city. Weaver, you saw a series of exchanges from people that you had met, each culminating in something regarding beckoning a person home or going home or something like that. And then when you awoke, you had a voicemail from your former boyfriend, Cody, who said that your Aunt Vivian was found dead in a nearby playground. Afterwards, you all returned to Kingman, and it was morning time. You planned, at least today, to drive up to Vegas because you want to interview Enrique Navarro, an aging indigenous man who is from the Kingman area, and back in the 50s, he disappeared with his mother, Belinda, in this Sighing Desert, and then several days later, he came back. He was found. His mother had died, and he reported seeing a city. And then he started writing about it as well. And I think at one point, can't remember who it was, one of you saw that Enrique Navarro, I think, had a connection to a...
It was on TV in the hospital. I think I saw that.
Okay. And you saw that he had a connection to a very familiar former handler of yours by the name of Ronnie Lightside, or Frank Ryder. And so I think your plan is we're going to Vegas, we're talking to this guru guy, and then we're getting some drugs, then we're going out in the desert, and then we're never going to see any of you again. Is that correct?
Most of that's the plan.
I'd like to see me again.
I'm not
I don't
sure
care
all the
about the
steps
rest of
are
them.
the plan.
Wow. Okay. So do you all have any final business that you would like to take care of here in Kingman? We'll say it's late morning. It is the day after your first excursion out into the desert where you slept underneath the stars. It's about a day. It's early morning. It's not quite, we'll say, 10 yet. What final business do you all have that you want to take advantage of here? Anything else before you travel out? I'm more than happy to just montage and say you're there. But if there's something else you want to do, say it. Call it out now.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Also good.
Me too.
Okay. Go ahead, Ashley.
I think we asked, but did Chopra receive her response from her?
She has
inquiry?
not received a response at all.
Okay.
No. Part of that you have to remember is that they might not always have the information you're asking, especially if you're asking about highly classified, confidential information. And
Gotcha.
The last time you had reached out to your handler, you were specifically asking for information on a majestic operation or a majestic project. There's no reason to believe that A, they would have it, and B, if they did, they would share it with you. So and it's only been maybe 2 days, so it also could be something she has to find.
Yeah, that all makes a lot of sense to me. I just feel like if anybody can be asked, she can be asked.
Of course. Okay. All right. So we're all driving up. Inferno, any last business?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Sorry. Something's going on with my music. I can't quite hear any music on the stream. And I'm trying to figure that out. I can't, and it feels weird not being able to monitor it. So, and it's not recording, so I want to make sure I'm getting this. One sec, everybody.
So who all here has actually been to Vegas?
In real life, I have, and I love it. I've been there a couple times. I freaking love it. I've been on work travel, but I like extended my stay by like a day so I could just like do stuff.
My first time in Vegas. Oh.
I turned it down for this.
Hey, attaboy. That's loyalty right there. My first time in Vegas, I was 16, and it was a family trip because my dad wanted to go to Vegas as a family, which is exactly where you think of to take your family. And I babysat my 6-year-old brother for most of the trip.
Oh, well, that was someone got that off of their list.
Yep. I have been as an adult as well, and I did have fun.
I've been in the airport for a very brief layover on a flight back to Arizona.
It's a nice airport. So, I mean, you know, all things
slot machines and all. Like,
all things
it is a Vegas airport for sure.
And you did not play a slot machine there at the airport, did you?
Eureka.
I didn't.
I got it. Okay. That was weird. All right. We are back. Okay. So you guys have been talking about your Vegas trips. And we're going straight to Navarro's. Finding where Navarro lives is super easy. It's not an issue whatsoever. You know that he lives in his own, he lives by himself. If you do any kind of quick background, which wouldn't be very difficult, you would know that he's in his 70s. You know that he has been married multiple times, divorced multiple times, and as far as you know, has no children. And he lives in Vegas, middle class neighborhood. Has a fairly nice, kind of lives by himself. And so we'll say we pick up several hours, probably maybe 2 hours pass between like leaving Kingman and finding your way up to Vegas, and then maybe an extra 45 minutes to an hour finding where he lives. And we pull into this ranch style house, fairly modest looking, and it's in a nice neighborhood. It's outside the strip, so it's not actually on the strip, obviously, but it's in a little suburb. And there's no gate or anything like that. You see that there is a Jeep that is like they're like right there in the middle of the driveway as you pull up. The actual landscaping is it's nice looking, but it's also fairly brown. It's definitely got that Southwest Xeriscape look to it. Do all of you go up to the door and knock on it, or did you call ahead to make an appointment, or how do we want to play this out?
I definitely would not have called ahead, but if someone else wanted to, they could have. Vin would definitely want to be at the door knocking.
Okay.
I don't think we called ahead. I think we're showing up.
Okay. So you knock on the door, wait a few minutes, and you see the door opens up, and there is a man, brown eyes, kind of graying hair, but you can still see there's a little bit of brown left. It's long and tied into like a ponytail in the back. He's got this fringe buckskin shirt on. He's got blue jeans, and you can see he's got these thick-soled Skechers that he's wearing. He has, a lot of creases in his face. He definitely has the age. And he's relatively tan. And he looks at you all and he just says, can I help you?
Do I recognize him as Navarro from TV?
Yeah, he looks just like the guy from TV, yeah.
Are you Mr. Navarro?
I am, yes. You are?
I am Special Agent in Charge, Palmer. I don't know if you've heard, but there are some disappearances that happened across state lines in Arizona.
Yes.
And I was just curious if we could go over your story and maybe some details might line up.
I have answered these questions several times, Agent Palmer.
I know you have,
CNN
and I
yesterday
appreciate you being
answering
willing to
them.
do so. Again.
Every time someone goes missing, somebody comes asking me questions, whether it's the Las Vegas Police Department, the branch from the FBI here, or some other private detective who thinks they're going to uncover some new age conspiracy. Is that what you're looking to uncover, Agent Palmer?
I'm very sorry to impose upon your time, but I'm sure you can appreciate that we're just doing our due diligence and making sure that no stone goes unturned.
Fine. All of you, huh? This is a very large group of people to ask a few questions. Do I need a lawyer?
No,
Agent
of
Palmer?
course not. My name is Agent Palmer, this Agent Inferno, and these are trainee
I'm sorry.
agents, Agent
I'm
Chopra
sorry.
and Agent Weaver.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you say your name was Agent Inferno?
Yes, Mr. Navarro. Pleasure to meet you.
Is that a name that you gave yourself, or is that a family
I couldn't
name?
do. That's my family gave me that.
Your family's name is Inferno. I see. Well, Agent Inferno, and then he kind of looks at the other two, and he's looking back at you once more, but then he looks towards Price to finish the introductions.
Yes, these are trainee Agent Chopra and trainee Agent Weaver. That's why we're such a large group. They're still learning how to interview.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that the FBI sent trainees. It's very curious.
Well, they're shadowing us. Don't worry, I've been in the field for quite some time.
Yes, you look roughly my age, so I suppose that would make sense. I'm surprised that they haven't gotten you a desk job at your age, sir.
Well, I'm still pretty fit, so...
Are you?
Could we come in? Do you happen to have
of
any...
course, yes. I wouldn't have any...
coffee or anything like that?
Oh, sure. I can... Is decaf okay?
I'd prefer caffeinated.
Well, I'd prefer you weren't in my home, but we deal with what we have to. I only have decaf. My doctor says that caffeinated is going to kill me.
I
might
understand.
have
Do you
a-
have, like,
A
tea or anything like that? Or
Coca-Cola in here somewhere if you want.
maybe a Mountain Dew?
This isn't a convenience store.
Okay,
Agent
Coca-Cola's
Palmer.
fine. I appreciate it.
So he leads you in to like a living room. There's a big cushy couch. You can see there's a couple chairs. The house is bedecked in paintings. Like you can see that there are many shelves, but there's also many paintings. What you know of him is that he's an artist. He's a writer, but he's also a painter. And so you can see that he has all these desert landscapes that he has probably painted himself that's kind of hanging on the various walls. The one exception to this is in the room that he brings you into, which has a fireplace, and above it, you can see that there is a painting of a woman, probably in her 30s or so, indigenous, and you can tell like she's kind of standing with her face, like kind of looking off in one direction while the desert expands out behind her, and he leaves you there for a moment. And then he kind of goes off to the kitchen. You hear various things kind of dropping and shuffling around. And then after a couple of minutes, he returns. He's got this tray. Sorry, there wasn't a Coca-Cola, but I brought you a Sprite. Is that okay?
I'll take
If
what I can
not-
get. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a Coca-Cola product, so I assumed it would be okay.
It's fine. Could I have a glass of ice with it?
Is the glass of ice that's on the tray not sufficient for your needs?
No, that's fine.
No. What is it I can do for all of you? Agent Inferno?
Would you mind-
Or I was speaking to Agent Inferno, sir.
Ah, yes. Mr. Navarro, well, you see... I'll scan along the walls, just see if I can find what was related to Ronnie that I saw. I forget what it was.
Sure. Give me a luck test.
Okay.
So just a 1 to 50.
41.
Okay. Yeah, you do see there's one shelf that looks to have his books. It's not like prominently displayed, but there's 2 books. There's the Sighing Desert, and then there's From the Desert of My Dreams. They look like relatively new editions, and those seem to be the one that he's referring to, or that was being referred to on the news yesterday.
Couldn't help but notice those books on the shelves there. I think my friend had works in those.
Your friend? Those are my novels. Well, not novels. Those are my memoirs. I don't think I have met you before.
No, this is the first time, but I think he had those books.
He had them. Oh, your friend is a fan of my work.
Do you know Ronnie Lightside? That's his writing name, right?
No,
Frank Ryder.
Oh, Frank Ryder.
Yeah, his name is Frank Ryder would be his actual the name he would be known by.
Do you know of Frank Ryder? He's a writer himself.
Oh yes, of course. Yes, Frank and I go way back. I was very sad to hear about his passing. How did you know Frank?
We met him in Florida.
Oh really? Yeah, I've heard he retired there a while back. We lost touch a little while ago, and about 20 years back, I think. But are you a writer yourself, or?
No, I've never written anything.
Oh, Frank was very kind. He wrote the foreword for, where is it? And he kind of walks over to his shelf, and he pulls off From the Desert of My Dreams. He wrote the foreword for me, and he kind of opens it up and flips it to the page and kind of hands it over to you. And I will share with you all a handout for you. If you would like to read that for us, Agent Inferno. It's the foreword.
I first met Enrique Navarro at the Squaw Valley community of writers in 1973. Disillusioned from my time in Vietnam, I was grappling with my own experiences and seeking solace through the written word. I was at this intimate gathering of around 75 writers that have found a kindred spirit in Enrique. His openness and willingness to explore the depths of his own experience struck me immediately. Over the course of our conference, we spent hours discussing our lives, our work, and our shared belief in the transformative power of storytelling. Enrique's honesty and courage as confronting the traumas of his past were both inspiring and humbling. He spoke candidly about his childhood ordeal in the Sighing Desert and how it had shaped his view of the world. His unwavering commitment to the truth, no matter how painful, resonated deeply with me. From the Desert of My Dreams is a testament to Enrique's bravery and his dedication to uncovering the mysteries of his own mind. In this book, he delves into the profound effects of his childhood experiences, examining how they influenced his dreams, his art, and his understanding of reality. Enrique's prose is both haunting and beautiful, capturing the desolation and serenity of the desert and the surreal, nebulous nature of memory. As someone who has faced the shadow of his past, I have immense respect for Enrique's journey. His work reminds us that through the act of writing, we can confront our fears, understanding our pain, and ultimately find a sense of peace. The truth is out there. We need only the courage to find it and the will to see it shared. signed Frank Ryder.
Yes, Frank was a fabulous writer in his own time, much more diverse in his interests than myself. He was more of a fiction writer, of course, novels primarily, but I think he wrote a few short stories here and there. But like I said, it's been some time since he and I had connected, but he was a kindred spirit, I would say, for a good chunk of my adult life. It's fascinating to meet somebody who, it doesn't happen all that often anymore. We're both of a generation that's, not as many folk read us as they used to.
The experience that Mr. Ryder seems to be referring to, and the one we wanted to speak with you about, sir, is something we're told that some people try to replicate.
Yeah, that's true. So, I have no control over this, and I've said this multiple times, and I've had my lawyers look into whether there's any liability I have to concern myself with. But yes, unfortunately, there are some folk who misunderstood the writings in both of these books and took some of my experiences as a blueprint for their own way of opening their minds to the mysteries of the world. I encourage the latter, but the means with which they have done so has put themselves and others in great peril. My experience was not one I volunteered for, but one that circumstance unfortunately forced upon me.
What would you say is the most common misunderstanding?
This is an experience to be sought. There are far better ways to understand what's out there than to shoot yourself up with psychedelics and LSD and wander off into 110-degree weather without any water. That just seems like a foolish weekend excursion, don't you?
I certainly would not want to do it myself.
So, people seem to think that because I saw things when I was a boy, that they're going to see things as well. Some folks look for the village, the city, whatever it might be. Others are just looking for, the secrets that they have hidden away from themselves. It's really about introspection, Agent Palmer. It's about looking at the things that you've done in your life that you are not particularly proud of, and understanding that ignoring those experiences and pretending they didn't exist is not a healthy way forward in life. You must embrace it. You must learn from it and become better for having done those things. At least, that's the lesson I took from it eventually.
Now, could we get into some of the specifics of your experience rather than the lessons learned from it?
Sure. You want to know about the village, is that it? You want to know about what I saw?
Exactly.
Well, Agent Palmer, I can tell you I was 7 years old at the time. This was during the war. My father had gone off to fight for this country and left my mother and I at home, and we got the news that he had died in Normandy, and that unfortunately had a very terrible cost. That news did. My mother fell into a terrible state of grief, and my father's family as well, and there's all sorts of stories about why she took me and herself and wandered out into the desert. But I can't say for certain what those are. Some say it was the grief that drove her, and she was trying to kill us both and join my father. Some say it's because my father's family expelled her and didn't really care for her much to begin with. And the truth that I've come to accept, Agent Palmer, is that grief can very easily tear loved ones from each other, just as easily as it can bring them together. And the death of my father caused a very significant rift, and that led to my mother and I fleeing off into the desert. And we were on for several days, and I distinctly remember that my mother and I stumbled across a village, a city of some sort. It's out there in the wastes. It was abandoned as far as we could tell. Couldn't find any water, and the little water we brought with us, my mother gave to me and took none for herself. And as you can imagine, that did not do too well for her survivability. I stayed with her until she died. And then I remember leaving the village, stumbling back out into the wastes, and I don't know exactly how long I was wandering, but the fellows who found me say it was about 6 days or so since I was last seen in the village. The people who found me, I did my best to tell them where she was and where the village was, but they were never able to find either. And I don't really think they looked too hard for the buildings because, well, my descriptions were probably perplexing to them. I don't think they...
descriptions were?
Oh, well, the place was a mix of, well, indigenous clay and stone structures and huts, but also more modern skyscrapers and the like. It was a anachronous composition of structures and buildings and dwellings. At the time, I was quite certain that's what I saw, but over time, I've come to realize now that it was just a child's imagination. It was, well, it's what some of us call a false memory, a trick that the mind plays to get the body to do things that it otherwise wouldn't do. Like a 7-year-old leaving his mother behind so that he can wander off and survive.
And in this false memory, were there any inhabitants of this village?
Well, not that I can recall. Though, as I said, I was very young, and I'm not sure if these memories are anything that can be trusted. If you've read my book, you would realize that trauma of this kind can play particularly interesting games with your memory and the veracity of your experiences.
I would appreciate a copy of your book if it's available. I wasn't able to find one at my bookstore.
Oh, that's interesting. It's been a multiple New York Times bestseller for the past 25 years, but I suppose your bookstore is, what, one for children, perhaps? For grandchildren?
Do you have a copy?
Oh, I have several. It'll cost you $14.99 plus tax. I have one of those fancy card scanners. I can go get it in the other room if you wish to purchase it.
That's perfectly fine. Inferno, you brought your card, right?
Of course.
Now, this might sound a little strange, but I'm just trying to cross my T's and dot my I's here. You don't remember any inhabitants of the village. Do you remember any sort of, even outside or throughout the whole ordeal, any sort of creature, animal, or person that you might have, like, at first missed because you thought they were invisible?
I beg your pardon?
Like
You
maybe
asking
a
me?
mirage where they were camouflaged or something like that. Was there anything that just... It seemed like there was life, but you couldn't quite see it?
You're asking me if 64 years ago, when I was a 7-year-old boy who was suffering from severe dehydration and emotional and mental trauma from having watched his mother die in front of him, whether or not I might have mistaken or missed seeing an invisible creature wandering about the area.
Yes,
Why
that's
would
what
you
I'm
ever
asking.
think that would sound weird? No, I don't recall invisible creatures, but it is a desert. There are many animals out there. Animals that most folk would not be very familiar with because it's a very hot and very dangerous place, and they have to do whatever they can to survive, and that includes sometimes staying out of view so as to avoid the heat and the various other dangers that the environment poses.
And this whole ordeal, you saw the village, which you said was a kind of mix match architecture. Do you remember seeing anything that seemed a bit more cohesively modern? Something like might have been described as like a facility more than a village?
Oh, facility. Well, no, I can't say. Well, there were many things. As you can see, I've been exploring it not just in the written word, but through the visual medium of painting. And many of the artwork around my home and that I have displaying in various galleries across the world have explored those visions, those hallucinations that I suffered as a boy. Many of them are buildings that would have no explicable reason for being there at that time. How you discern, I should say, a facility from a warehouse or from a community hall or from a restaurant, I'm not quite sure. Is there a more specific thing I should be racking my brain for?
Well, it might have been described more as like an army outpost or something along those lines.
Or maybe any visible structures that had functions like water towers or satellite dishes or anything like that.
I do recall a little bit of that. I can't recall if I observed it in my person, but one moment, and he gets up, shuffles out of the room very slowly, comes back, and you can see he's carrying a framed painting that he sets on Agent Price's lap so that everyone can see it. You can see here, Agent, that this is an approximation of, well, it's an approximation of what I see when I think back to that time. And here, as I said, were those more rudimentary huts. Here you can see the skyscrapers, though I'm not sure that term is particularly appropriate, as it doesn't quite go as high as some of the buildings we might customarily assign the term. And then for reasons I'm not quite sure, I made this one as well. And I suppose from a particular angle, you most certainly could call this a satellite dish. And what you see in this painting, although it's a different medium, it's definitely oils and things like that, looks very similar to what you saw in the cave painting in the pictures that were on Emily Hernandez's phone. Or camera, I should say.
Did you see this in your dreams specifically, or while you're opening your mind like you were saying earlier?
I believe there was a tone to the second half of that question. As I said, it was a very traumatic experience, and it was one that I had to work through over the course of a significant portion of my life. And some of that was through meditation. Some of that was through personal reflection and exploration, and even returning at times to the desert itself to see if I might re-experience that what I saw as a child. And sometimes when you're standing before an easel and a blank canvas, Mr. Palmer, you just let the inspiration take over, and you see not what it is that you want to paint, but what you need to paint. And that's where these images often come from.
Did you by chance, sir, see any mazes while you were out and about?
Mazes.
Within the sand.
Mazes in the sand. I'm sorry, my dear, I am not. Could you describe them in greater specificity?
Yeah, and she'll go ahead and describe, like, the stacked rocks.
Oh, well, I can't say that I recall seeing them during my incident, but I have seen them before. Yes, very certain. Of course.
Gotcha.
Davis, could you share your dreams you had this morning with Mr. Navarro here? Maybe they're the same.
Oh, I am not a dream speaker. I am not here to interpret things, but I am curious. If you would care to share.
And it's kind of clear that there's like a little bit of water in the back of her throat as she turns to the side and kind of like coughs to like get normal. It just revolved around repeated attempts to call me home. And the boy that we're investigating, the recent one who he escaped, he also had dreams of the same sort of call. It's time to come home. When are you coming home? Did you by chance have any sort of dreams like that when you were out in the desert? Or did your mother ever express the need to go home? It's time to return home?
Well, I do recall at one point, near the end, when she was most far gone, I believe the last words she said to me was to take the water and go home. But dreams I've had over the years, sometimes that incident recurs, yes. But I don't quite see others necessarily conveying that term. It's just that moment, reliving it. I don't even know if it really happened. But
yes,
I think it did.
Agent Carr, I think you had similar dreams, something about a city.
Yes. And she'll describe both the city that she saw and also the sort of like humanoid figure in that as well.
And he listens and he's like nodding along. Well, I don't quite know about the figure. As I've said to Mr. Palmer here, I don't recall seeing anybody else. But the city you describe sounds remarkably similar to the painting that's sitting on your special agent in charge lap right there. Are you sure you haven't read my work?
Unfortunately, no. I'm sure it is.
Are unfortunately, no, you aren't sure that you've read my work, or unfortunately,
no, I
you
haven't. But it's unfortunate because I'm sure I would be better for having read them, but unfortunately, I have not read them.
More, I was basically implying perhaps your mind is beginning to play a series of tricks on you, letting you see something that you maybe read about, because I spoke about it extensively in both of my books, and if you've been listening to any of the several interviews I've been giving, I must say it's always a tragedy when one of these incidents occurs, but I do get quite a significant amount of publicity as folks want to come around and ask me the same sorts of questions you do. Usually, however, they're a blogger, or they're one of these folks who works at a news organization. First time for CNN, though. That was kind of exciting.
Have you had anyone come recently that wasn't the news?
You mean... Well, every now and then, yes, I do get a visitor. Sometimes it's a misguided fan who wants to ask me about the truth, and others who want advice for what substances, or whether or not substances or dehydration is a better device to trigger the experiences that I had. But usually I shoo them away, or I call the local police department and they come over and ensure that they leave. But no, none have happened recently. I've gotten some phone calls from folks who blame me for what transpired, which is a fascinating consideration, but nonetheless, it is the truth. They do.
Have you ever been back, sir?
To the Sighing Desert? Yes, I have a few times. It's never quite felt the same. I've never had that sense of isolation that I found when I was in the village with my mother. And I never quite managed to relive it. I did engage special agents, so you can't put your chrome bracelets on me. But yeah, I returned. Some was for nostalgia. Some was for research. Last time I was there, in fact, Mr. Inferno was 1995, I think, or so. It was the last time I saw Frank. In fact, he was arrested on some sort of drug charge, I think, and there's a few folk that were missing, and they thought he might be involved somehow, so Frank knew I was nearby, so he gave me a call, and I came down, bailed him out. But, yeah, I think that was 20 years ago at this point.
Ever take drugs or psychedelics, I think?
Well, that's a question I don't really want an answer to. I want an answer without my lawyer present.
Keep it off the record.
Off the record. Isn't there a law about self-incrimination or something?
We said we weren't suspecting you of anything. We're here just to follow up on a few questions.
My professional life matured during the late 60s and 70s, Mr. Inferno, so what do you think?
Gotcha.
Do you continue that for professional reasons?
I am far too old, as you are, to be engaging in such substance abuse. Substance abuse is a younger person's game. Our bodies, Mr. Palmer, cannot take such chemical alterations.
Chipper cannot help a snicker.
Rice would just glare at you.
Do we recognize anything else in any of his other paintings from the imagery that we've seen?
Give me a search test.
Lisa fails 57 over 39.
Okay. A lot of it is desert landscape, fairly nondescript. It might be some ridges and locations that you've seen, but nothing immediately stands out in this room.
Okay.
Do you happen to recall the 1995 incident? If they located the individuals that Frank was supposedly involved in their disappearance?
I believe they did. Victims of exposure, I think. They were found. And they were dead. Somewhere out in the desert, I think it was. As I said, Frank was questioned, but I think the charges were eventually dropped. He is a dear friend, but Frank retreated a bit from public life, and also some of those he had private connections with. We didn't really communicate much after that. Occasional phone call or an email, and I was very saddened to learn of his passing, but Frank was a man who was always haunted by his demons. Mostly it was born from his time in Vietnam. He always talked about doing things that he regretted, and how out in the jungles he saw things, he said, terrible things, and didn't really offer much detail, but we often talked about memory and what that does to one, and he very much appreciated the theories I was pushing about how the mind can create images to both protect you and propel you forward when something is necessary. I heard rumors that Frank got embroiled in some nefarious things while doing research for a few of his books. I just assumed that might have been the case in 95, but it wouldn't surprise me if he took a few missteps in the pursuit of truth. But I do believe the men were found, but he was eventually cleared of any wrongdoing.
Did Frank ever talk to you about any employment or work that he may have done outside of being an author?
Well, not particularly. Have you read any of Frank's books? Quite interesting.
Indeed, they are.
He was a man who, although he wrote fiction, he very, very much enjoyed a certain level of immersion, and finding the details were essential to such a thing, and that got him poking his nose into various industries from time to time, and I suspect that maybe he made a few connections at some point that probably precipitated his departure from public and private life. He was a good man, though, underneath it all.
On the surface as well. He definitely looked out for those he cared about.
Oh, are you familiar with him as well?
I've heard.
Ah, I see. Well, this has been a very delightful conversation. Is there anything else I can answer before you all leave?
You could recommend any dream seekers with the dreams?
I think Google and the internet's probably a better source for that kind of information than I, and I'll be honest with you, I think that whole metaphorical and figurative interpretation is probably a bit too poetic and not real rigorous when it comes to the analytical sides of the mind.
I appreciate your candor, sir.
Well, you are in my home, and you are asking me questions, and so I don't quite appreciate your attitude. Now, are there any other questions? She is just a trainee.
Try to go easy on her. And I set down the painting and I stand up. I think that's about all the questions I have. Well, actually, I do have one more. Do you know where we could buy peyote?
This feels like a trick.
It's genuinely not. We are, even though you said it is ill-advised to take some things and go wandering in the desert, sometimes we do the ill-advised thing.
So you're looking to reproduce my experience. Is that what you're saying?
It would be a falsehood to claim otherwise.
That seems like a very dangerous thing to do. I certainly wouldn't recommend it. I would draw your attention to the fact that I am the only one who has legitimately had the experience, and I was under no substances at the time. I was merely very dehydrated and exhausted. I would imagine that is probably sufficient to get the mind to start seeing things that aren't really there. And there are plenty of other substances I'm sure you could acquire considering your profession that I certainly could not as a private citizen.
Well, as was referenced, the images that we had, it was fairly specific, I believe, as to what was being offered. And in the spirit of going with what has been shown to us, we did want to go for that connection back to the dream.
Yes. I'm going to be honest here and say that if I did happen to have knowledge of where to acquire peyote, which I am not saying I do, I certainly wouldn't provide that information to a group of FBI special agents who have come into my home asking me questions about a very traumatic incident I had as a child that society has deemed a circus over the last 40 to 50 years of my life. So I'm afraid
completely
you are
understand
on your own.
Maybe I could ask a different question then. Myself, as a law-abiding, upstanding citizen, if I wanted to avoid the people who might be selling said products, where should I not go?
You are in Vegas, my friend. If you don't want to acquire something, I would say you should definitely not go to the Strip. I am sure there are many people on the Strip who would be very capable of directing you towards whatever nefarious substance it is that you wish to acquire. So since you're trying not to do that, I would most certainly suggest you stay away from there.
Well, you've given us a lot to look into, Navarro. I should tell you that our friend Frank Ryder has passed away.
Yes. It's very sad. I've heard about it just a few years ago, I think it was. Very tragic. A fire, I think. Is it a fire? I heard his...
Yeah, it was.
It actually wasn't, but that's
a car accident.
Yeah,
he also mentioned knowing that Ryder died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed the part that he mentioned he knew.
It's fine.
I wouldn't even know how, but yeah.
He's a well-known writer and friend.
Wait, that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow.
When was that he newer to this? How long ago did he pass?
I would like to suggest that there is this newfangled invention called the internet, where you can look such information up and you can collect it into your mind and not have to extend an interview with an old man who was quite tired, and myself.
Sorry, Carl, I'll tell you outside.
Original
Probably
source interviews just are not. They're irreplaceable.
And FBI agent Davis is holding the painting that Price had. Sir, is there anywhere that I should place this for you?
Oh, I can take that for you, my dear. No problem at all.
Thank you. And then to confirm, did Price wind up buying a book, or?
If you want a book, he'll give you a book. I can't.
We're trying to out-troll each other tonight.
Troll you guys back when you give these people attitude. I just can't not do it. It's crazy.
I don't understand why Price was in charge of this and started with so much tude.
Well, I'm the special agent in charge.
Inferno Bot. That's right. Inferno Bot. He's the one who has the credit card.
I'm at the corner beeping it.
Yeah.
He charged it to his family's pizzeria.
Oh my gosh. So the card not bounces. The card gets flagged.
Oh,
He's got to cut it in half. Okay. Anything else you want to ask this poor old man?
As we'd be like walking to the door, like we're turning, filing out, I'd turn around. Now that you mention it, I think we did have a file on Frank Ryder. You mentioned having correspondence
for a man
with him.
who claims to be as young as you are, your influences with Columbo seem pretty profound. It's okay to be honest about your age, Agent Palmer. Honesty is how we find truth, and truth is the only thing worth searching for in this life.
I'm sorry, I don't understand Columbo references. I'm not that old.
You keep lying to yourself.
And I don't understand them, but I'm sure Price actually would. He would be of the right generation.
You don't know in One More Thing? You keep doing the
sorry.
One More Thing. That was his thing.
I
It's
I know.
One more thing. Peter
I wish I
Falk
could say it was
turned.
intentional.
One more thing. Right.
One more thing.
There it is again.
Would you happen to have any of that correspondence left? Perhaps emails that you could forward to us or letters that you could photocopy for us?
With Frank?
Yes.
No, I don't think so, but I can go searching.
I'd appreciate that. And I would hand him a card with like our fake information where he could like forward it to.
Okay.
If you come up with anything, we'd appreciate it.
Well, I'll go ahead and take that glass back from you. Looks like you were trying to leave the house with it. I got those from a local craftsman, and I'd rather not try to hunt them back down to get a replacement. So if you
I was just going to
mind,
go wash it. My mother taught me manners, but yeah, you can have it back.
You're at the front door. Were you washing it at the hose outside?
No, I was going to take it back to my house and wash it before returning it. It was a joke. I'm sorry. Here's your glass.
Thank you. These episodes are like 20 minutes longer just because of the sass. All right. You guys get the hell out of his house. Okay, you get out of his house.
Oh, one more thing.
Shut the hell up.
Should we burn it down just in case?
Just in case.
Oh,
Now you're getting Delta Green. Just burn everything down. That's the way to do it. It's the only way to be sure.
That's the way. I've been pushing for that since episode 1. Burning everything down, and the rest of the group's been pulling me back.
It's so funny. Like I remember when we started Impossible Landscapes. I think it was Derek who said really, really, really early that we should just burn the McAllister building down. And I'm like, man, you got it like right off the bat. That's basically what you could have done right away and saved us like 6 episodes. But it's pretty funny. Anyhow, what would you like to do? What's next?
We're going to the strip.
Hell yes.
Yeah, Weaver wants to start actually reading his book.
Absolutely. Okay, and so you're going to start reading through. There's 2 different books, basically. One of them is
He got $30 out of us.
the Sighing Desert, and one is from the Desert of My Dreams. Each is about 250 or so pages, and most of it's just text. So you can see there's an occasional image or two. Like you can see like a black and white reproduction of one of his paintings here and there, but mostly it's just text. Okay, you guys want to go try to score drugs on the strip? Is that the plan?
Weaver does not want to score. She's not going out, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
She's going to be reading.
All right.
It's not a safe space.
No.
By the time you get out of the interview and you head downtown to the strip and you find a place to park, we'll say it's late afternoon, so the sun's still out. It's a quick drive, relatively speaking, between Kingman and Vegas. So you guys got here right around lunchtime. We'll say you probably had about an hour and a half or so of an interview with him, and you head out. I think a criminology roll would probably be a good way to go about trying to score some drugs.
I've got 50 in that.
Wow.
Having
get
a
more about
history
luck,
of being a
right?
DEA agent, I know where to find drugs.
You do?
Go for
Criminology
it.
is 70.
Oh,
Nice.
man.
Oh, shit.
Okay. So we'll say, give us a rip of that.
A 46.
Okay. So
Are we going to
you're
remember
not-
the night?
Yeah, you basically
Are we going to do a hangover episode?
I don't want to do a hangover episode. I don't want to do it because I think the hangover episode is I should stop it now and then we start it up later. And then
I
we
thought
have
that's
to
what you
try
had
to
prepped.
but we have to like retrace what happened between the time you guys left Navarro's home and when you woke up without any pants on, hanging from what looks like a water tower somewhere in Detroit. So that was basically
Navarro
going to
All right,
be
let's
the
roll with
spent
this. We're in Detroit
time
now. I don't have
telling us
pants.
about how
Okay.
our brains would just make shit up to protect us. So
all of that, by the way, scientifically accurate. Okay. It is. So, okay. So with a 46, are you looking specifically, is there a specific kind of drug you're looking for? Are you genuinely trying to get peyote or are you looking for some other kind of substance, Inferno?
If we can get peyote, the good stuff, I will go for it.
Yeah.
46, I think it'd be not too difficult for you to be directed to a shop somewhere along the Vegas, not actually on the main strip, but probably just off the strip a bit here and there. And it's probably one of those like smoke and tobacco shops on the surface, but like you ask the right. We literally have, dude, like, I know you've been to our house, but we literally have like 20 freaking dispensaries within like a half a mile of our house. Like, it's just crazy.
across
Like,
the
they're just,
street.
Not
for
even
me.
exaggerating.
But the
I'm
illegal
not
stuff?
exaggerating. The legal, it's legal. Of course it's legal.
No, I'm saying you know how to get the illegal stuff.
I do a lot of
We're
research.
role-playing.
I do a lot of prep. All I do is prep. That's all I ever do anymore.
Jeff is on a couple like watch lists, is what we're saying.
I'm sorry, I'm derailing so much right now.
That's fine. Okay, so yeah, Inferno, you're able to go in to a smoke shop just off the strip. You're able to wait around probably for the clientele to leave. Maybe Cars with you, maybe not. You managed to ask the right kind of questions, know the right kind of communication, and eventually, we'll say with your role, you're able to acquire some peyote. So we don't have to role play out the conversation, but we'll say you are able to acquire it. So you do have an illicit substance, especially if you bring it back into Arizona. It is, as we looked up before, it is still illegal. But yeah, we'll say you do have that.
Nice. We're bringing it back to Arizona.
Okay.
We are
All right.
crossing state lines.
Would it have been possible to get some more common drugs at the same time?
Sure. What would you like?
Cocaine.
You want to get cocaine from a smoke and tobacco shop?
Well, I'm not
Agent
saying
Price,
like there. I'm saying while we're on the strip.
Do
He took
you
his
want?
own side trip and went somewhere else.
There's got to be
Do
a
you
guy
want-
with a backpack full of
No,
cocaine. on the
absolutely,
strip.
absolutely. Do you want anyone to know that you were doing this?
No, I would go off on my own.
Got a criminology roll for me?
Could I do luck instead?
That's like a 50-50. What's your criminology?
10.
How are you the special agent in charge and you have a 10?
I mean,
don't know shit about the
I
criminal
was not an
minds.
FBI agent. I was not in the DEA.
worst.
I was, very different
the
government
absolute
agency, worried about overthrowing governments, not criminals.
Are you worried at all? If I'll tell you this, if you take no measures and don't think about it too hard to try to worry about like undercover agents and things like that, you can grow criminology with a plus 20, knowing that if you fail, there could be consequences for you. What would you like to do?
I think, according to the rules, I do have the addiction, and I would go for it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that makes sense. And I
right.
would be looking for some shady guys with large backpacks, and just start striking up conversations and see how it goes.
All right. Give us the role.
We're just talking pre-stream about people getting thrown in jail in different
We're never
chapters.
finishing this campaign. We're playing deltagreen forever.
Can I just say thank you for giving me the plus 20, because that's how I made it. I got a 13.
Okay, 13. It is you are actually on the strip, and if you haven't been to this strip, it is like walking in an outdoor mall for adults. It is the most. There's a billion things appealing to your senses all at the same time, and not in a good way. And so as you're walking up and down, like you're looking around, your crowds are bumping into you. People are hawking this or hawking that. You can see touristy type people going to some of the tourist trap hotels and restaurants. You can see very many people of various persuasions who are giving you flyers for this massage parlor or that strip club or this dance club. But eventually you're able to find somebody probably behind or down like one of these alleys between the little more ruddier area that you're able to acquire an 8-ball or something. That's fine. We'll say
A couple.
Okay. A couple. All right, buddy. You didn't crit succeed here. Let's calm down. Actually, if you do want to
gotta have stock.
I know, but if it's not going to be cheap, so go ahead. There's actually rules for acquisition. Yeah, because if there's,
I haven't actually done this yet.
It's an expense basically. So if like your expense is too much, you could potentially like spend the money that you had earmarked for something that you're going to use for a bond, and then that's going to lower your bond because you spent the money. Okay. All right.
So do I need to roll something for that?
I don't have my primer up, unfortunately, right now.
Spending your own money, paying for unusual expense is what it would be then, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Stress of spending, or would it be a major expense? Unusual. Or
I wouldn't say major. I think unusual.
Okay. It reduces 1 delta green bond by 1, and if your agent is in a wealthy occupation, which I say it's average, not wealthy, can make an int 5 or accounting test. So I just damage a bond is what it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, I think that the idea behind it is that like you're spending your own money on things that were supposed to go towards your real life and your bond in some way, and like that's kind of going to cause friction down the road.
Sounds good.
Okay. Would anybody else like to buy drugs or various other substances here in the Vegas Strip?
No.
Anybody else have anything else they like to do in the Vegas Strip before we return? Okay.
No.
So, evening time, sun has gone down.
I do have more I'd like to do, but I won't.
What do you want to do? Go ahead.
No. I'm saying I want to party in Vegas, but no, like we got to get back to the mission.
Okay. Through the magic of montage, we could say you party in Vegas, and then you wake up the next day in Detroit, wondering how you got here. Okay. You guys drive back? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. By the time you guys get back, it's nighttime. It's probably like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So you get back, you do some basic check-ins probably with the sheriff's office. No updates. The search teams didn't find anything today. There's far fewer people that are actually going to be continuing to come out. The sheriff is specifically, sheriff's office, if they communicate to you, like more often than not, they would probably gotta call off the search at this point in this type of situation. But they're continuing to look, especially pressured by the family of the Congresswoman. So it's evening times, nighttime. Do you guys want to go out to the desert now, or are you going to do it in the morning?
I feel like nighttime's the good time for.
Yeah, because all the pictures were of twilight and evening.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
stuff.
Okay. All right. So if that's the case, are there any other preparations that you would want to make before you head back out into the desert?
Just making sure we have a ton of water.
Okay.
Yeah, the same sort of thing we did before, where we make sure we've got all the food and water and supplies we need, refill gas and all that.
Okay. All right. Anything
Well
else? Anybody
prepared.
else have anything else they want to do?
Should we
I don't-
tell someone where we're going?
No.
Nah.
Someone
I
does
will-
We don't.
Set a scheduled email to Ranger Sam for 36 hours from now saying where we are.
Well,
You have
that's
plenty
We
of
just
time
gotta
to
survive 36
unschedule it
hours.
if we get
Okay.
back.
All right. So, sorry, just getting a few things set up here. Okay. So, you guys drive out. Are you when we say you're driving out to the desert, are we going out to the trailhead from which the hikers went missing? Are you going way the hell out to the facility spot? Is there a particular location
I
that
like
you
to go
want to
back to the facility spot.
Okay.
Agreed.
That's my suggestion too. Basically, where we were last night when Cara and Weaver had their dreams is where I'm thinking.
Should
Yeah,
we?
that was by the facility where we set up.
And like Weaver looks up from the book. Should we stop at one of the mazes first?
To do what?
I
The
don't know,
mazes were pointing
see-
us towards different directions.
But that's where you saw the guy, like while we were awake.
Hmm.
Didn't Navarro say something about mazes and not being relevant?
I mean, he said he saw them, but he doesn't really remember much about them.
I am similarly curious about some of the maze bits and what it would be like to go through that with this. But I think if we're trying to get more information about the facility, I think being in that location would hopefully get us what we're looking for. I think.
Yeah, we'll table that for later then.
Hopefully there is a later. Says Melissa, not Agent Carr.
I was gonna say that's fucking dark. Okay.
Okay. So, you guys get plenty of water, supplies, all that kind of stuff there's no reason to worry about it. That's all pretty mundane. You load up your SUV. You set a timed message to send to the sheriff's office in 36 hours about where you are going. And then you guys head out once more into the desert. We'll say, I think we were saying it was like a 2-hour travel time. Now that you're traveling the night, it's probably a little bit longer. So we'll say by the time you guys actually arrive at roughly the campsite you were at the night before, which is near where the satellite coordinates would have put the Majestic facility, we're going to call it midnight. And do you set up a camp like you did the night before?
Yeah, we'll get a camp going.
Yeah.
Pass around peyote. See if anyone's interested in trying.
Okay. How many of you are actually going to be, are all of you going to be imbibing? So let me start there.
Are for sure.
Troopers.
Whoa. Okay. Melissa was really excited there.
I mean, she saw it in her dream, so she sees this is
Okay.
this is the way.
Car
Wait,
and
we
Chopra.
need to we're sitting around the campfire. The peyote is ready. We're passing it around.
I just want to know, I'll walk you through the process for actually.
Well, no, I want to have like the visual of like Car, drinks, Chopra drinks, and then it's passed to Weaver. What does she do?
Weaver does pass.
Okay, so no Weaver.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Car and Chopra. What about Inferno and Price?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
Of course you are. God damn it. Of course you are.
And then it goes to Price.
Price. it ain't an upper.
I'm trying to decide. I think Price would not do it.
Okay.
But I really want to do it as a person.
Okay. All right. So we'll say, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you guys had some time during your drive to Google how to actually prepare and ingest peyote, which none of your characters would know how to do. So basically,
Googled how would a law-abiding citizen not prepare peyote if they didn't want to drink it?
Get a fire going, you get a small little coffee pot, okay, and you basically go about kind of making tea is kind of what you're doing. You're dumping this little powder and such into there, and after several minutes of it boiling up and steeping and whatnot, we'll say one of you begins doling out these different drinks to each person that is going to take it. So whether it's like a paper cup or whether it's like a thermos cup or something like that, Carr gets one, Chopra gets one, Weaver gets one. The three of you begin to drink. It is very thick, oily, gritty, bitter, tastes like alkali, basically. And you read online that you should be alternating drinking from the tea and drinking water. And so that's what some of the extra water maybe that you purchased was for. So this idea of kind of going back and forth and back and forth. I need the three of you who just imbibed, or sorry, the three of you who just imbibed to go ahead and make a constitution test.
$41 under 65.
Okay.
26 under 60.
Very nice.
98 failure.
Inferno and Carr, you managed to keep the drink down. Chopra, however, you do feel a bit of nausea overtake you, and it comes at you very intensely, very quickly, and you find yourself vomiting some of it on the ground. You are able to then, if you want to continue, you can imbibe a second cup. Is that what you would like?
Yes.
Okay. So if you take that second cup, give me another con. This time you can take a plus 20 to it. Okay. And if you fail this one, basically means no peyote trip for Agent Chopra.
Oh.
I'm glad you gave me the bonus because I succeeded with the bonus.
Okay.
You would have failed by 2 if not.
I would have 62, and I would have failed without bonus.
Okay. So the three of you drink. Chopra, you come in the second round and you start drinking, and you kind of sit for a while and you let that kind of take hold, and then all three of you, after a little bit of time, you start to see images begin to manifest a little bit in the fire. They're vague. They're kind of like this demonic, shadowy type figures kind of dancing up from the sparks of the flames. And you can tell that some of them kind of, as they drift, the further away they drift from the centerpiece of the fire, the quickly they just dissipate and fade. You read that you should probably continue to imbibe. So you take some more and you kind of go through a second round and a second round. And then Price and Weaver, the two of you, are keeping an eye out, perhaps. Weaver, maybe you're doing more of your reading. But ultimately, it's kind of very, very quiet, in fact. Eventually, Carr and Inferno and Chopra, you certainly feel like a certain kind of lightness overtake you. Confusion, in fact, like as you start moving your eyes around and looking this way and that, you notice like there's all of the light kind of has a trail or a tail to it. You look over towards like Price, you look over towards Weaver. If they're conversing, their voices sound a little muffled and a little further away than they really are. You kind of have this parallax moment a little bit as well from time to time. But I will tell you that the next few hours pass by with that basic feeling. And the sky car does not suddenly change. You don't see the stars and the moon shift past you. You don't see a city suddenly flicker into existence on the horizon. But you do see a bit of light start to appear on the horizon. It's sort of a vague bloom, like rather than a specific point. It almost feels like for a moment the sun's coming up to the east for the three of you. All three of you roll sand, please.
My 24 sand.
That's why I shook my head when you said you were drinking this, because this could be really bad for
66.
Inferno. Oh no! Oh no!
Oh, I got a crit success. There's no way that can help Inferno.
I have to ask every single time, what happens when I roll a 00 and a 0?
That's 100. Isn't it?
Well, I rolled 100.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's
That's
not Mothership.
fail.
Oh, fuck.
Don't get me started on the 0 to 99. I will. It's been a week. Stop it. It's 100. So that's a crit fail for Inferno, a crit fail for Carr, and a crit fail for Chopra.
No, crit success.
Or, excuse me, crit success for Chopra. Okay.
We're just so critical.
Price and Weaver, you guys have been sitting around for a couple hours. It's the AM, 1 a.m. goes by, 2 a.m. goes by, 3 a.m. goes by, 3:30, 3:45, maybe 4 a.m. You suddenly see your fellow agents just start to stumble and get up from the fire. And you see them begin to just start to wander off, vaguely eastward. They all kind of seem to be going in the same general direction. They didn't really say anything when they got up. They just got up. And you see them all stumbling off into the dark. They don't have any flashlights, nothing like that. They just sort of stumble out there. What do you guys do, Price and Weaver?
Where are you going?
Do we even hear the question being asked of us?
It's the same kind of like, it sounds like he's a mile away when he says it to you.
Going home.
There.
Lights.
Oh, shit. All right, come on, Price.
Yeah, I grab like the headlamps and the flashlights that we brought with us. Toss one to Weaver, grab one for myself, grab a couple extras in case these guys sober up at some point. And I would start following along.
Did we like prepare for this? Like, remember like those little backpacks with child leashes? Like,
we don't.
You do not have those. You do not have those.
We should have bought
I know what you're talking
the
about.
store. Yeah.
Chat says, did you put string on their wrists? Long string?
I would, as we're going, I would try to like mar the terrain at some point, like dig my heel in and just like mark occasionally here and there so we can have at least a little bit of guidance trying to get back to the campsite if we need it.
Okay. All right. So you follow them as best you can. You're marking up, Bryce, the terrain as you go, and they are stumbling. They look, honestly, it just sort of looks like they're a little tipsy. Like, it doesn't really look like they're like losing it. And you find like they're slowly all moving in that direction. They're not talking to one another. The three of you that are under the influence, you feel this weightlessness sort of undertake you, and the hardness of the terrain is a complete and distant thought to you. Inferno, after a time that you can't quite determine, you're still looking up, and you can see that the further you travel, the more that diffused light on the horizon begins to sharpen and focus and sharpen and focus. You realize after a moment that you no longer really feel the ground, and when you look down, you see water, and you don't see your feet. You just hear and you realize that you are dragging your legs through it looks like about 3 feet of green, sluggish, salty water. You look around, and you can see somewhere vaguely to the left and the right of you, Carr and Chopper, you think, both of which are very vague. It almost looks like you're trying to look at them through a fogged up window of a car. Like the condensation is too thick that you can barely recognize their features. And when you try to spin around, you can see behind you, there is Price, there is Weaver, and behind them, you see a giant bloated woman that is probably about 12 feet tall. And you see she seems to be just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Price and Weaver seem to have no awareness of the fact that she's standing right behind them. You watch as like these mouths, these cuts, I should say, that almost turn into mouths, open up on the body, and you watch as this sack just flops out into the water, and there's a splash, and you're just watching and watching, and you see that this, whatever splashed into the water, begins to sort of wiggle and swim in your direction, and it begins to come up from the water itself, kind of climbing up you. And you realize it's this little copy of you. Looks just like you. It's covered in this sort of amniotic kind of sheen. And it just continues to walk up into your face, up into your face, up into your face, until it begins to just push into your eyelids. Go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy. You are going to take 3 points of sanity loss.
Okay. It'll give me a new breaking point, so I'll get a disorder later.
Okay.
You could push it onto a bond. If
That's
you
true.
wanted
Oh yeah,
to.
I'll attempt to push something
Okay.
off as well. Is it a D6, I think? Or D4?
It's a D4, and then you have to burn that much amount of willpower as well.
Okay, I got a 3. I'm allowed to
Okay.
burn all 3?
Yep.
Oh wow. So I could take none there.
Nice.
You can. And then after a moment, as this thing crowds into your eyes, just sort of pushes, you feel this vague, distant pressure on your face. And then everything goes black for a moment. And then you open your eyes again, and you look back, and there is Price, and there is Weaver, and there is like this dark ridge behind them, and you are no longer in salted water. Carr, as you are vaguely moving in the direction of this light that, again, with each step becomes less diffuse and more focused, you see shadows moving in the peripheral of your vision. You can see them just flickering and surrounding you. And as you try to kind of like focus on them, you're moving your eyes left and right as if you're trying to kind of catch them. They start to somewhat form. And what you see are people, but their faces, they look different. They look animalistic in some way. You see noses that are kind of lifted up and pushed back like a snout. You see fur here and there. You see these dark, beady, recessed eyes. You see fangs. It almost looks bat-like in some way. And you can never quite make out their full garb, but they're wearing some kind of brown or tan kind of getup. And at a certain point, they start charging in at you. And you just see from every direction, they're screeching. Your ears begin to bleed a little bit as you hear them screeching. Price and Weaver, you watch as like Carr just kind of starts to cover as if she's being surrounded. Carr, I'm sorry again. You are also going to take 3 points of sand loss.
Holy crap.
do you want to push it off onto a bond?
I will. I probably should because I'm 4 away from a breaking point. So let me roll a d4.
You don't want to get really spicy and be 1 away.
Yeah. Well, I rolled 1, so I'll spend 1 willpower, and I'll take 2 sand loss. So I'll still be 2 away.
Okay.
Remind me again, how much sand loss do you have to take for something to happen?
What do you mean
more.
for something to... Well, it depends. If you have a disorder, many disorders will trigger on 2 points of sand loss.
Okay, so yeah, so like my PTSD would have triggered it too.
You
Okay,
would well, check it, see if it says it. Not all of them do, but some of them do. Okay. What ended up happening there, Car, with your resolution?
So I still take 2 points of sand loss. So I push some of it onto my mother, but I still take the 2. So yeah, she's definitely she's wants them to get closer and wants to be able to sort of interact with them. And then when she sees kind of the speed and force with which they're coming in and the sound, then, she kind of definitely goes from sort of being interested and curious, and then definitely kind of goes into that kind of protective stance and just kind of waits to hear for the sound to stop and if she gets attacked.
Okay. And then Price and Weaver, are you doing anything? It looks like she's fending off attackers. She's swiping and crouching and all that kind of stuff.
I think Price would just be watching that she doesn't hurt herself, but not trying to step in whatsoever.
Okay. After... Okay, go ahead, Weaver.
No, I think Blair would kind of follow the same things. She's kind of follow Price's lead on this because maybe they are seeing something that we want them to see. So I don't think she'd interrupt.
Okay.
I think Weaver, you would see that Price is rather tense about this. Unbeknownst to you, he'd be having flashbacks of his own to when he was in Carolina and he was being attacked by things that you all couldn't see. And he would be, in the back of his head, he would be very on edge about this, but as long as she doesn't seem like she's being injured, he wouldn't step in.
Okay. Eventually, Car, you can feel the pressure of these things that are kind of pushing against you dissipate. You feel like you got bit, scratched, kind of tugged at here and there. You kind of try to shift your clothes a little bit because they don't feel like they're fitting correctly anymore. It feels like a sleeve was pulled a little too much, or it feels like there's a tear. You get a cold wind against your side. And then Chopra, you again are going off in the direction of this light, this not the sun, but something. And then you trip and you fall. And for a moment, the ground feels extraordinarily cool. And then as you start reaching your hands around, you feel a rock to your right, and you feel a rock to your left. You reach forward again, and there's another rock, and another rock. And when you lift your head up, which is now covered in this sort of reddish dirt, you can see with that diffuse light just giving you this vision, there is this maze that is now spread out in front of you. What would you like to do?
Is the maze waist height, chest height, or
just like the other ones where it's just rocks that seem to mark paths? Everything's visible.
Going to try to make my way through the maze. Okay.
So you get up, kind of dust yourself off, and you just start navigating through it. Inferno, Car, eventually, you look over and you can see Chopra, and then you too see the light of the maze. Car, you can still feel the shadows in the corner of your eyes. Inferno, your legs feel wet, and you realize your pants are soaking, and the smell of salt is still in your nostrils, but you two see like almost like a spotlight has been shined down onto this maze, this rock maze that Chopra has already started to kind of stumble through.
Do my best to follow her in.
Okay.
And Car would kind of be like, just go, what were you doing? What were you doing? And she's just, unsettled and kind of muttering to herself, and she follows along.
Okay. 3 of you start pushing your way through, wandering, and somehow it just seems easy. Like it's just like, oh, of course I go this way. Of course I go this way. The light that's kind of shining down almost seems to just kind of give you the directions you need to go. Price and Weaver, meanwhile, it's dark as can be. It is 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not quite dawn. You've got flashlights out, and you can see these 3 idiots are just stumbling around in the dark. But both of you would notice that they are stumbling through a maze.
Yeah, I would have been following one of them through.
Okay. At a certain point, Inferno, Car, Chopra, you come to the center. And you realize the light that you had been kind of following, again, focuses even more. It's no more diffuse. It's now very sharp. And you look up and you realize, out of the peripheral, that there, up on a ridge, you can see that there is a cleft in the rocks. This sort of vertical ovular cleft. And there's like sun, and it looks like the light is just shining through it. Like there's a sun right behind it. And it looks, to your peyote-infused brains, like a portal. And all around it in the sky now, you're seeing colors you have literally never seen before in your life. Vibrance, constantly shifting hues that you've never kind of experienced. You can almost kind of feel them on you. But all of it seems to just be looking at this ovular, almost like an eye turned on its side up on this ridge. And Price and Weaver, the 2 of you watch as all 3 of them, their heads are just kind of in unison, staring at the same spot up on this ridge. There's no light for you, but you see them pointing up there.
That's it.
That's what?
Starts moving forward. She stops for one moment and her breath catches. Is obviously visibly taken by something, and she's like forgotten why they're out here. All she wants to do is get to the portal. So
it's so beautiful.
But what is it? What is it?
It's
Inferno, what do you see?
I see light. I want to claw myself up there to get a better view.
Okay.
Price is not the best babysitter. He's definitely out of patience.
Inferno starts crawling up this ridge. Car comes along. Chopra too?
Yeah. Chopra is like very much trying to get
Car may even be last in this row. I think the other 2 are a little more eager.
Okay.
Chopra is super eager.
Okay. The 3 of you climb up, and you feel like bathed in this bright light that is colors that you are extraordinarily unfamiliar with. Do you pass through the cleft?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's through the cleft. Is it going to the portal?
Yeah. Do you walk through that cleft? Like it's like a vertical eye. So think of it like there's a rock shape and then another chunk of rock that comes around it, and it forms this kind of vertical eye, this slit in the ridge. And the 3 of you see this dancing, brilliant, amazing, fascinating light popping through it.
After we've gone through, or before?
Well, I want to know if who's going through it. Is anyone going?
I'm sorry. Chopra is definitely going through.
Okay.
I wanted just a better view originally.
Okay, so you try to get a better view of that. Yeah, you can get right up close to it. And it is rock, red, brown rock. There's the left-hand side of the cleft is essentially a butte that goes up much higher. And then there is a growth of rock that comes out of that butte and arcs downward. And that growth is maybe about 6 feet in diameter, and it plunges down onto the ridge. You can walk to the other side, but no matter which side of it you're on, because like again, think of it just like a single arc, like a branch of the rock coming down. You can go to either side of it and see the same thing, this cleft from either side. It's an empty space, and it's just light that seems to be shining through it. And so whether you're on the western side of Inferno or the eastern side of it, it is just this mind-blowing array of colors.
Then I'll step in, see what's there.
Car, what about you?
Chopra and Inferno have both gone through, so Car will be the last one.
Okay.
Steps through.
Okay. The three of you step through, and all of you feel like this pressure on your bodies as you step through. And then as you're passing through that cleft and coming out the other side, that pressure suddenly releases, and that sense of weightlessness is amplified. You feel like whatever pressure has been weighing you down, has been kind of constricting you, has now left. And you suddenly, your arms work again, and they feel like you can extend them in all sorts of different directions. Your legs work again. You can feel like you can extend them in all different directions. And when you look around, you notice that the terrain does not look familiar. The sky it's not morning, it's not night, but there's like a color to it that seems almost twilight in some ways. Price, Weaver, you watch as the three of them step through this cleft, and they completely disappear from your vision. The two of you go ahead and roll sand.
Oh, shit.
93 failure.
Okay.
It's a pass for me, 20 under 39.
Okay. You're okay. 1 point for Weaver.
Okay.
Immediately scrambling up to go where they
What the actual fuck, Price? This was just peyote! What the fuck? And like, I imagine like she had her navigator out and she was just kind of like, as we were going, marking like the places that they stopped at that they found particularly interesting as like Price was trying to corral them. So she didn't really witness Chopra disappear, but she caught like the tail end of Inferno and Car just kind of like disappearing, and that's when she started to scramble up to follow.
Yeah, Price would have seen the whole thing and tried to be like hot on their heels, trying to get wherever they were, looking down like maybe they fell into a crevice or something like that.
Two of you go up. You don't see them. You look on one side, you look on the other. They are not on either side of this. You shine the light in every direction. You look for crevices on the ridge. Nothing. You don't see them at all.
Nothing happens when Price goes through.
When Price goes through and you're standing behind, Price disappears from view.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. And like, she takes a quick moment and she just sends a text to her daughter that just says, I love you. And she hopes that it will send and it will go through, and then she'll run after him through the portal.
Okay. So all five of you have come through. Three of you are seeing just sort of a beautiful, but honestly, like, you don't know what time it is. Like, you look at the sky and you're like, what time is it? The three of you who are high right now. as Price and Weaver stumble through, you do see the three of them, and they're all kind of like moving their arms. They're acting like they're high, basically, and they're looking around. Everything's very beautiful. I do want to stress the people who have taken peyote, you have control over your characters. Obviously, there's different effects, but I don't feel like I have to like dictate it. But like there are certain like things that are going to happen, but you are more than welcome to interact however you see fit. Inferno, you notice something in the distance. You notice that down this ridge, you can see there is a small outcropping of red-brown rock, and you can see perched on top of it, there is a golden eagle, and it is staring like up in your direction. I would put it at maybe 200 yards down this slope, and you can see that it's there looking up at you, and it's quite large. You've seen this type of bird a few times. Would you like to do?
There. It's always watching me. I'm going to chase after it.
And you see Inferno just start running down the ridge. Price and Weaver, when you step through, nothing really changes for you. It's still very, very dark. You look around and you don't see what Inferno's running towards. You hear him mumble something about it's always watching him. And he kind of slips down and runs and stumbles a bit down the ridge. But you kind of feel a little lost as there's no light. You can't really see the ridge. You're not sure. This slope seems vaguely unfamiliar to you. You don't even really remember this cleft like when you were driving around the day before. Like, this isn't far from where you were camping the night before, and this vague memories of whether or not this is a thing. But you see him just run down the slope. What do you all do?
Ah, shit. Weaver, keep an eye on them. I'll bring him back. And I start chasing after Inferno.
Okay.
Okay.
So Price starts running down. What about the rest of you?
I think Har would probably just look over towards Chopra. This is just so beautiful.
It is. So beautiful.
I want to see like all I can see.
Being high.
And Car's gonna just push forward, like, this is like what we've been wanting to see, and so she just kind of wants to investigate. Just move forward, investigate, see what she can see, find.
Chopra's just kind of aimlessly wandering. Like, she's probably looking up at the sky and just kind of taking steps randomly forward.
Okay.
In the background, you just hear Price yelling, "Inferno, stop running!"
Just keep up.
Inferno, you get within about 10 yards of the eagle, and it lifts up into the air and begins to just sort of fly off, but like at a leisurely pace. And then you see it kind of come and land on the branch of a tree a few hundred yards out off in the distance, and just kind of wait. And it turns back and it looks at you.
Tracking it with my eyes, and then make my way towards the direction it flew.
Okay. So he continues to run. Price, do you keep following him?
I'm a smoker. This is hard for me, but yeah.
And you're like in
I
your
will keep
70s.
I'm
Okay.
45.
You're a hard 45.
But Constitution was my dump stat.
At this point, Price and Inferno are getting pretty far away. So is everyone keeping up with them, or are people splitting up now?
I would
Chopra's definitely not following.
Oh, you guys
okay.
aren't following?
So Chopra is just sort of wandering off. Okay.
I would
I
try
just
and
imagine
keep the three
Chopra
of
and
us
Carr
together.
splitting up.
Okay. So Weaver and Carr and Chopra. So Weaver, you're trying to follow Chopra. What is Carr doing though? So like, is Carr running after Inferno and Price, or is Carr staying with Chopra? What is it you're doing?
I would say Carr would go with Price and Inferno. So she, because like Inferno seems to be excitedly investigating here, and so that's the place to be. So yeah, she's gonna be running after and overtake Price, even in her state.
Okay. Can we roll for that?
Yeah. Carr, roll con plus 40. Price, roll con minus 40.
You jerk. I failed.
I got a 2 under 60 for my con.
You did not.
Okay, she passed.
I did.
She runs past you. Okay. This happens a few more times. The eagle takes off, flies off leisurely, perches, turns, looks at Inferno, lifts up, perches, turns over and over until who knows exactly how much time has passed, but the three of you have put some significant distance between yourselves and that cleft. To the point where, Price, when you look around, you can't see Weaver and Chopra anymore. Car and Inferno, you're just sort of chasing. And then the eagle finally comes to a rest on what looks like it looks like an outcropping, a rock, but you notice that there is a cave opening underneath it.
I'd make my way towards where it landed, under the cave.
Okay. Car, Price.
I think Car would probably be kind of, what are you like trying to like, because does Car see this bird? Or does only Inferno see the bird?
Only Inferno has seen a bird, yeah.
Okay.
You're just following Inferno.
So I think Car is kind of just trying to be like, what do you see?
Car.
Where are you going?
The golden bird. It's been watching.
Oh, you're following the bird?
Yeah, it's landed here.
Oh, I bet it's so pretty.
Jesus,
Gold.
guys, come on. We can go slow here, okay? Car, come here. And I take one of those headlamps that I said I brought, and I just like put it on her head, and I turn it on. Keep that on so I can find you. I grab the other flashlight because I said I brought extras for them. So I take the other flashlight that I brought for Inferno, and I turn it on, and I shine it on the outcropping near the cave, hopefully like illuminating it a bit. So if Chopper or Weaver like find or go the general direction, hopefully they have at least some chance of making it.
Okay. As you three get close to the entrance into the cave, you notice that, Price and Car maybe notice it. Inferno, you maybe have been focusing on the birds so much. You notice that there are white and brown splotches that have bedecked the rock around the entrance. They look, when you get close, like handprints. Doesn't look like any of them are particularly wet or recent, but some of them look to be white. Some of them look to be like a brownish red. Do any of you have anthropology? Any of the three of you have anthropology?
No.
I do not.
No.
Okay.
The wrong people to be here.
Okay. Do you go inside, Inferno?
The bird hasn't left. I will.
Okay. Inferno plunges into the darkness. Car, Price, do you follow?
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. You weave around for a bit in the blackness, and after probably about 10 minutes of kind of plunging and navigating these caves, at least that's what it feels like to Price, you come to a chamber within the caves. And you can see that there is a section of the wall that's about 25 feet in length from one side to the other. And you see what appears to be a very an extremely crude series of paintings. Some are vaguely similar to kind of Paleolithic cave paintings that were kind of all the rage showing up in Europe. And others look to be more recent buildings, and you realize, standing here, that you have seen this very cave before. You have seen this very paintings before, as the three of you are kind of standing here watching and looking at this. We're going to cut back, and you guys think about what you want to do. I have some more stuff to show you, but we're going to hop back to Chopra and Weaver. So, Chopra, you just kind of wander off for a bit, and it's just really beautiful. It's there's a somberness in some ways to it, but it's still beautiful nonetheless. As you just look at the color of the sky. Like, it's like this this purple in some way, but also blue, and then like a gray. It's just a color. It's just hard to kind of pin down. And then Weaver, you're following her. After you've kind of slowly meandered down the slope, you both feel the wind begin to kick up a bit. And Chopra, it comes at you in like slow motion, where like as it hits you, you feel your hair like slowly raise and then slowly fall. And then slowly raise and then slowly fall. But Weaver, you feel like you're just being buffeted by hurricane winds, and it's just kind of throwing things around. Like you can see the dust is kind of kicking up in your eyes. This is what's happening. What are the two of you doing?
Chopra's sticking her hands out like, oh, wow.
Fascinating. We really should get with the rest of the team. Come on, let's go.
Later, after this.
I mean, you can enjoy this while we head towards them. Think of how much nicer it would feel as you're walking through it. I love being in a hurricane, Chopra. This is fantastic.
It's not a hurricane, it's a breeze.
It's...
The more and more you talk, Weaver, the louder and louder you have to. Because the breeze continues, turns into a gust and a gale. You see the sky overhead. There's suddenly no stars for you as a storm clouds have come. The wind is buffeting. You're starting to feel it kind of enter your mouth, the sand, and it burns and burns. And you watch as this like wall of sand, just this wave from the flat area that you saw Inferno and Price and Carr kind of run off into, just comes rushing at you like a wave and crashes down. And just like that, the two of you are suddenly encompassed in this massive sandstorm. And it's just swirling around. Chopra, like your vision is like, it's very difficult to see. It's very difficult to hear, but you are kind of numb to the fact that you're getting buffeted and stripped by these like little tiny flecks of sand that continue to just like kind of pelt at the two of you. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to try and find cover for us to get it behind or something to try and like not get buffeted so much by the storm. And she's not going to be nice about leading Chopra anymore.
If Weaver is like getting involved in moving Chopra at this point, she will move, but like she's not going to move without being made to.
Okay. So Weaver,
I assume you're just like pulling her.
Yeah, I'm dragging.
I'm not resisting.
Yeah.
Okay. Make a survival or navigate test with a minus 20% considering the conditions, Weaver.
Oh, let's see. My survival's 30, my navigate's 11. So we're going to try to go for a 10 survival.
Do you want a plus 10 boost?
Hell yes, take it.
Just one. We're going for...
Okay.
Well, no, because if I do that, I can't increase it, right?
Correct.
That's true.
I'm going to just try for 10. We're going to see if we get fucked up today.
Hell yes.
And we do 37 fail.
Okay.
Only you were taking the 10.
Oh, I still
do
would
your
failed.
best.
It was
to
minus
search
20.
around. You do your best to search around for any cover, and you can't find it. Maybe the first thing you do is you try to get back towards the cleft, towards the ridge, find something to break the wind, but you realize there's no elevation. Where you set your feet, you expect to climb a ridge, but there isn't one. It's flat, and in some cases, it sometimes feels like you're going kind of down a decline. You feel completely lost. The two of you take 2 points of damage as the as the sand and the wind just rake and rip at your faces, at your skin. you start having this burning begin to go down your mouth now too. When you speak, you can taste the sand, you can taste blood in your mouth as well. Every time you speak, Weaver, you have to scream effectively at your topmost volume. It's like you have somehow found a prairie. Like, it's just, everything's so ridiculously flat. You're looking for a tree, you're looking for a cactus, you're looking for an outcropping, you're looking for a ridge, a cave, like some sort of hollow in the ground, anything. And the two of you are just like running through this to the point where you have nothing to protect you. What do you do?
At that point, I think Weaver would just try to lead her towards where we saw them going. And see if, and she keeps asking her if do you see anything? Do you see anything?
Can I see anything?
A lot of sand just swirling around you. Like, you don't really see, like, you no longer see that beautiful kind of twilight sky that you've been looking at before. All of it's just kind of opaque.
I don't see anything.
And again, just pushing.
Yeah,
Give me a navigate or survival test at -20.
Oh, this is like Derek trying to swim.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I will take a dice this time.
Did Peyote went to a magical land and immediately split out?
I did not want to split out. I just didn't want to leave Chopra alone.
No, I get it.
Do you want two?
Being the worst.
And just do it straight?
Yeah.
Okay,
we're shooting for a 30. And I roll a 92.
Ooh.
You guys take 2 more points of damage as the sand continues to cut away at all of your exposed skin and begins to collapse down your throat. An hour passes, maybe 2. You lose track of time. Like, you're constantly just in this horrific state. Is there anything else you want to do?
Am I thinking of Call of Cthulhu, where if you get half health?
No, that's not an issue. You're fine.
Okay,
you're fine.
Okay.
You're okay.
2 is the point here where you get in trouble.
Got it,
yeah,
okay.
2 is bad. Okay.
Chopra, any ideas?
No, I'm just also booking it in the direction I saw these guys do, and looking for cover on the way, so nothing really different than what we first doing.
I will tell you this: if you continue to do the same thing without changing, you guys are not going to survive this. So you need to think about. You brought a bunch of survival gear. You've just had damage tearing across your exposed skin. You've just had damage from sand pouring down your throats.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to do to try to protect you perhaps from some of this kind of damage?
I sure wanna try and go back, like, to the club.
I think a Weaver actually would instead try and get us to hunker down and get like I presume we got like those blankets for if you're chilled, to keep you warm. Like, it's kind of like a
cool
thick tarp,
yeah.
And she's gonna try and get that to cover us,
It's a good
so
idea.
that hopefully we're not battered down
Totally
as much.
was not even thinking about having that shit with us.
As Chopra turns around, maybe to go back, you grab her and then you take whatever it is,
I
tackle her to the
feet
ground.
out from underneath her. Yeah.
Hell
And
yes.
The two of you are literally huddled in this small, like, you're on this flat terrain. You've got this sheet over top of you. You can feel it constantly being buffeted by wind, by sand. You can even feel something like roll over top of you, like a rock here or there. But at the very least, like, all of that abrasive attacks on your skin and the sand going down your throats, at the very least, that's not happening. So no more damage. You're not making progress, but at the very least, like, you found your own makeshift shelter for the time being.
The original running was panic, and then that was kind of like when FEMA training kicked in, and Lisa realized, oh fuck, like we can't do this.
Okay. I like it. FEMA training. Look at you. How long were you a FEMA agent before they fired your ass?
3-4 years.
Chopra ultra
Maybe
civilians.
She remembered the half-hour PowerPoint on dust storm survival.
Yeah. It just took her a little bit.
All right. Let's cut back to the three that are in the cave. So the three of you, when you're looking at this painting, and all of you have seen this before, it is familiar to you. You see these wattled huts. Those are the things with like interwoven branches that are standing next to these buildings that look shockingly like A-frame houses, and it looks like a series of these tall gray towers that are studded with these black windows rising all the way above them. And you can see this one blocky building has a half moon shape atop it that is not unlike a satellite dish. This is all stuff that you've seen before. You see that there are several of these strange, small, hunched, human-like things with, well, now that you're close to it, look like rat heads that are depicted as moving around the city. A face suddenly, Car, as you look at it, even though it's crudely painted, gives you this vague image in your mind of those little figures that had surrounded you. Not little, all those figures that kind of charge it at one point. You notice that several of them are depicted as kind of moving about the city. There's this gray sky, and you can see this lone bird, Inferno. It looks very familiar to you. That's kind of flying between the city and what looks like the expanse. And there are all these supine sort of stick folk that are strewn across the remainder of the landscape. So they're laying down. And you can see that amid all of these fallen figures stands this relatively featureless figure with this arm upraised. And all of you kind of get this strange feeling that it's kind of watching you. Inferno and Car, you even watch as its head, which was otherwise silhouetted and kind of looking in one direction, sort of shifts. And then you also notice, Inferno and Car, that all of these figures in the city are moving about. They're not just depicted as actually moving. For the two of you, they are in fact moving. Some of them are shimmering in and shimmering out. Others are going in buildings. Some are coming out. A few suddenly you see looking out some of those windows, climbing walls. However, those fallen supine figures, the ones laying on the ground, they never move. And that one figure that has their hand raised, the only slight bit of movement was sort of to turn and almost face the person or the people that are looking at it. I need the two of you to roll sand tests.
Yeah, definitely.
It is disturbingly similar, but at the same time, bizarrely different than what you saw in the photos from the hiker's fun.
97 fail.
Oh boy.
93 fail.
Oh, wife. Okay. 1 for Inferno.
Ooh.
1 for Car. Man, that's some crappy rolls. I hate rolling D4s. They're stupid. So both of you take a point in sanity as you are seeing all. It's like this city is alive.
They're moving. They're moving. You see that?
I'll wave back at them, see if I get their attention.
Doesn't look like they interact with you. You do notice once or twice, though, that some of the ones that were looking at windows suddenly disappear from view.
How large is this painting?
It's about 25 feet wide and about half of that, about 12 to 15 feet tall. It's very massive. It's a massive mural.
Try placing my hand on it. Maybe touch some of the figures.
You place your hand on it and you watch as any of the figures that were in buildings or underneath you suddenly scurry out from underneath your palm.
What about why aren't they moving? And so Car will, like, seeing Inferno kind of put his hand out. Car will kind of take her finger and tap an area where, like, there's sort of the prone stick figures. They're not moving.
I'll try just carving my own figures onto the painting. Add to it.
Okay. You take out a knife or a stone and you deface a thousands-year-old cave painting by drawing Inferno was here. No, you carve mark into it. No, absolutely. I would tell you that all this is painted. It's not carved. Just so you know. But yeah. Put a pizza place.
Car will see what Inferno's doing, and she'll like make a little cut on her finger, so that she can kind of use the blood to draw a stick figure on.
Okay, you draw a little stick figure. Okay, and you see like the blood sort of dries up relatively quickly. It becomes this sort of brownish red, and then you start to see the smudge animate a little bit and just disappear amongst the city. Vin, you see none of this. You see them messing around with this painting. It looks just like what you saw before. It's like, what the F are they doing?
Yeah, they see the painting. They both pull out knives. Kara gives herself a little cut, and then Inferno is carving in, and Bryce would be completely over babysitting at all, and just let them, they're children playing with crayons, let's move on. And he would kind of push further into the cave, seeing if there's anything else, any other paintings.
Okay. The cave ends maybe about 20 feet further in as it starts to taper downward until you can't kind of get your head up. You do notice that it looked at maybe at some point in the distant past, this might have been an opening and like looks like a cave-in happened. You even notice more of those handprints, though they're faded. As you start kind of looking around for anything, you do actually hear something. You hear wind starting to kick up and course around. And then you hear from somewhere back from where you came in the cave, you hear, Vincent? As your name is called out.
I turn and look, but I do not say anything.
You turn around. There's no one there.
I clear my throat loudly.
You succeed. Your throat feels clear.
Hello?
Vincent.
Who is it? Who's there?
Nothing.
Thought I was the sober one.
Says the guy who just bought a couple 8 balls of cocaine in Vegas.
Oh, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
And so behind, if he was listening, Price would hear Carr just sort of leaning over to Inferno. No, you've got to draw it. Don't carve it here. Like, just cut your fingers like I did, and so she'll kind of like be tracing over kind of your carving. See, just do that.
I'm not looking to harm myself.
Oh, I'll do
so
it.
And so I'll harm her and use her finger.
You grab her finger and just start drawing another one? Absolutely.
Well, it's like, I can't spare the HP.
It's true. It's true. Takes it, starts drawing it over. Same thing happens. You see the blood kind of quickly dry, and then it kind of, that little mark disappears into that vast city, kind of opens up a door into one of the buildings, and then starts climbing up the skyscraper, and then peeks out from like the 3rd story window.
We're in there now.
That's us?
Oh, I think so. We added to the story.
Good.
Bryce, do you see this?
Yeah, I see the painting.
Vincent?
Who is it? If you got something to say, just say it.
And the two of you hear him shouting at, like...
It's just us, Vincent.
Go back to your painting.
Do you hear something? If you hear something, we should follow it.
There's nothing to follow. The cave ends.
But you're talking.
And so are you. And I start walking towards the entrance of the cave and trying to see if there might be someone over there, like maybe an echo is playing tricks on me.
You walk towards the entrance and you can see that outside is a horrifically thick dust storm. We're going to cut from there over to Chopra and Weaver, who are in this dust storm. And I'm going to say, don't worry about time, by the way.
Yeah.
Chopra and Weaver, it feels like you've been underneath this blanket for hours. Like underneath whatever it is. Like you've literally been here for hours. Chopra, you have been, the tea has not worn off. You're still feeling this. Although the immediacy of the danger is probably harming some of the high a little bit, but nonetheless. And just like that, the storm stops.
Oh, fuck. Okay, we need to hurry up. Get up. We need to hurry up and find them before this happens again.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
And Weaver's going to be very careful in case we're buried in sand, to move it in a way where we don't get more dropped on top of us, and to see how deep we're buried, if at all.
It's not too bad. Like you're not trapped under weights of it, but there's definitely some layers that fall on you as you shift and move the blanket a bit. When the two of you look up, you see that just 20 feet from you, you can see that there are these three large rock formations. I would say to Weaver, they look familiar. They look like the description or maybe the pictures you've seen of the gal pals that Nick Karras labeled them in his GPS, or the locals call the Three Sisters. You can see that they definitely have the shape of women. You can see why people would call it that. Like they are like kneeling or leaning over. You can see like kind of the vague shape of a face and a nose and some indentations for eyes and what looks like would be hair, and like they have like, you know, like a somewhat of a rotund like chest to give a sense of like this is likely a feminine figure. And all of them are kind of leaning down and like looking at the ground. You remember seeing a couple pictures. You remember one of Michael Thompson staring up at them, and I think there was another one where there was a gun in the foreground. That's what you see. Agent Chopra, you see things a little different. You see that they are vivid images of indigenous women in these plain dark colored robes. You can see that the eyes of one is closed, or both of them are closed, I should say, and that she is old and gray. And then across from her, you can see tears are flowing endlessly down the face of another one of these women, another figure. And then you can see a third figure, which likely grips you the most of it, as her eyes are a deep golden brown. And just looking at them, you can see that they are filled with pity and love and sadness and forgiveness. And you need to roll San right now, as the emotions looking at her eyes and her face seem to overwhelm you.
A success with the 16.
Take 1 point of sand. As you feel this sudden urge to break the line of eyesight with her, and you're able to. You feel like for a moment, just looking at her, like you're getting swallowed by the intensity of those emotions, and you're able to break away. What would you two like to do?
Weaver would be trying to look for anything in particular that she would have recognized from the pictures that we saw.
Mhm.
Any indication of where to go to head back towards our camp, kind of just more getting her bearings.
Okay. You look around for, like, you never personally visited this place, if my memory is correct.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing you would have to go on is your vague memory of the GPS.
Yeah.
And so you would know that these are more eastward than you all tended to go. You guys decided to focus your attention not on the hiker's trail. You did a little bit of it, but you eventually said, screw that, and you started going to the coordinates. So I would say your personal context for which way to go, I mean, you would basically just be, it would be an educated guess, but it would still be a guess.
Chopra, fuck. Where do we go?
Weren't we trying to find everybody else?
Yeah, we separated, Chopra. We should have stayed together.
Can I see any cave or anything from where I am?
No.
Okay.
We just kind of.
You don't even know that they're in a
the
cave.
middle of them.
Yeah.
Of like the three sisters when we came.
You're standing
out of
about
the sand.
20 feet from them.
Oh, okay.
When you got out from under. Like, they're right there. Like, you got up and you, oh shit, there's three. Like, you see three stone
Yeah.
women.
And
Chopra sees three women. Like, they look like three indigenous women in clothing and color. Like, it's one of them is.
After saying that, we were saying we should have stayed together. Chopra's like, oh well, maybe we should ask them if they've seen them. And she points to the three rocks.
Ask
maybe we should
the
ask
mountains.
them. No, the women.
I know they're called the three women. I know that's like the nickname for them, Chopra, but they're mountains.
No, there's three women.
You're right. It's probably a good idea to go there to get our bearings. So, okay, let's
very confused, but Chopra, oh fuck.
Okay. So you guys are moving up to them? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You regularly can kind of feel the gaze of those gold eyes on you, but you're able, because you passed your sand, to like not feel the compulsion to look back into them. Weaver, you, again, they're stone. They're a little bit taller than you. They're like maybe 10 feet tall or so, you know. Mm-hmm. They're kind of crouched over and they're sort of looking, surrounding each other a little bit. There's nothing on the ground that you can tell. Everything's coated in dust and sand. You don't see anything that suggests this is a tourist place, but you don't see any signs of like a picnic table or benches or trail directions. Nothing like that seems to be here. Just these stone structures.
Chopra's trying very hard not to look at the woman with the gold brown eyes, but will try to sound casual when she says, she'll say, hello there, sort of interrupt, but we're looking for our friends. Did you see a small group of people go by here at all?
You feel like the wind kick up, but otherwise, no response that you can discern to that question.
So look back to I guess they don't know.
You know, I'm not even gonna comment. And like, Weaver takes like a very like she's stressed at this point. Like, so she just takes a very stressed breath, and like she does reach into her backpack. Like she's got like that blanket that we used kind of tied over her shoulders like a cloak, just in case we need to quickly use it again. But she does pull out her cigarettes and she just starts to stress smoke because you're seeing some weird shit. Her friends are missing. We teleported earlier and like you're still just fucking high. And she's just like, when, and she kind of muses to herself and she's like, God, was I like this? Like, fuck. And just stress smoking.
Chopra, you watch that the smoke that's produced from the cigarette seems far more voluminous than it probably should be. Like it's just like this. It's like a house fire coming up out of her smoke, and it's just kind of wafting over you. And you can feel the heat as kind of some of the ashes flake against you, kind of get in your eyes, watered up, and you hear suddenly a voice come on that smoke, that wind, and it says, "Follow my dead sister's gaze."
And Chopra will immediately say, which one's the dead sister? Which one's the dead sister?
So when you look at them again, Weaver, they still look like rocks to you. But when you look at them again, Chopra, and I'll just give you the description, they're all plain dark-colored robes. The eyes of one are closed, and she looks old and gray. And across from her, you can see tears are flowing endlessly down the face of another that is sobbing. And the third is the one with the golden eyes that you know that if you look at her, you don't know if you'll ever get your eyes back. Those are the three that you see.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at the golden brown eyes and assume and make the attempt to follow her gaze.
Are you sure you want to
look at her
that?
eyes first and then?
So which is so the instruction was.
I don't feel like I communicated that well.
Right?
Yeah. Follow my dead sister's gaze. If you, and genuinely, I want to give you an opportunity here at my trade, because if you if you look at the golden eyes, you will never be able to get your eyes back again.
Okay. I misunderstood. I'm sorry. Okay.
You're still gonna do it though, right?
So the closed eyes would be the dead sister.
Sorry, say it again?
So the closed eyes would be the dead sister?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm trying to.
They may be here like mourning her, kind of, since the other one's weeping.
Follow my dead sister's gaze, and these guys haven't come across anything in the cave that could be.
You don't even know they're in a cave.
No, I know. I'm just working things out. One's got their eyes closed, and okay. I feel like I want to go up to the closed eyes one, and fuck. Is she facing a different direction?
Yeah, they're all like basically in a triangle facing in different, like they're all facing inward towards each other. So think of it like 3 points of a triangle.
Right. I'm gonna walk in the direction of where closed eyes is facing.
Okay. Weaver, you see Chopra just start walking.
She'll follow.
Okay. You start walking.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Follow my dead sister's gaze. Someone just said.
No, I did not hear that, Chopra.
Frustratedly waves and keeps walking.
way to rub it in that my aunt died. You know, just more dead ladies, right? That's normal. And Weaver's starting to get a little bit more hysterical as this continues to like go on. And her chain smoking gets worse.
Okay. Vin has been such a bad influence on you.
This is more of like this is more of like an
Ronnie,
Aunt Viv kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That turned out well for her. Too soon?
Well.
Is that too soon? It's like 2 weeks ago. So
Weaver didn't hear it, so
right.
it's fine.
Feels okay. All right. You two start following the gaze of this gray figure. Come back to the cave. Vin, you're standing at the entrance and you can see a sandstorm. And you hear somewhere vaguely out there, Vincent.
I just yell into the storm. What do you want?
And then as you yell into the storm, you watch as all of the sand that was swirling falls and doesn't continue to swirl. And you see that there is sand all around in front of you. And you can see there's still little flecks of grass and stone here and there, but it's like the earth has just been coated with this orange-red dirt. And you see that it is nighttime. And in the far distance, a couple miles away, you can see a ridge and what looks like a point of light.
At this point, Vin would definitely be wondering if he actually took peyote or not. Maybe he just forgot that he took some. And then he would call into the cave, Inferno, car, we're hiking.
Okay, where are we going?
What do you see over there? And I point towards the light.
See a dark landscape, bunch of sand on the ground, and you see what looks like a point of light on top of a ridge in the far distance.
Yeah, it's bright over there.
Yeah, there's a light.
Find out what's causing it.
Okay. So the three of you leave. You hear, as you're leaving the cave, Vincent. Crunch of your feet.
Why you always bait me like this? This is how I got a whole bunch of people in New York killed. Because I tried to leave and you're like, no, come back.
I mean, all I said was your name. You are attributing meaning to it. I just said your name. That's it. And it's not even your name. It's a name. Could be a different Vincent. Could be Vincent D'Onofrio. Could be Vince Vaughn. Who knows?
1 second. I forgot something in the cave. You two head on. I'll catch up. And I go back in the cave.
I'll stay right here and watch you.
I'm ready to step away as he says that.
Okay. You see Price runs back inside. You run back inside. You see no source of any of it. Like, you don't see... Like, there's no one in here, as far as you can tell.
I'm getting in my own head. So I stoop down and I tie my shoe. It was already tied, but I tie it again just to like have a moment to like think and clear my head, looking around.
As you're tying the shoe, you feel a hand on your shoulder.
Jump up and swing an elbow.
And you turn around and there's nothing there. Roll sand.
Ah, hell. That's a 20 under 39. Success.
You're okay.
This gives me the heebie-jeebies. I shine my flashlight over the painting one more time.
Shine over it. Nothing seems to have changed. You can roll a search test if you think you want to do something a little bit more thorough.
Yeah, I would like to do a search test, but not just of the painting, just like the whole general area. Mm-hmm. Any sort of, like, even footprints that don't look like ours, or if we dropped anything, or If
Absolutely.
something might be hidden under a rock. I don't know. 33 under 51.
A crit. Two things. There are tracks on the ground that do not correspond to yours, Inferno's, or cars coming and going. They look just like, boot prints, footprints, that kind of stuff. Secondly, you notice that one of the buildings in the painting, you can see there's like a smoke coming from the side. It's actually smoking off, like literal smoke is coming off of the rock.
I feel it. Does it just
It's
still
very
feel like
hot.
rock?
It's very hot. So like you kind of do that, touch the pan, pull your hand away kind of thing.
I take another rock and I just kind of like try to like smash at the spot a little bit. See if anything like chips off.
You smash, you smash, and you smash. And as you do, the rock against the cave wall, a spark forms, and you watch as whatever was used to actually draw on this catches fire. And you see this whole building in the middle of this landscape of a city catches on fire. And you just see it sizzling in front of you. This giant orange-red square burning and burning and burning.
Okay, that gives me another weird idea. I want to go back outside and look at the light that I saw in the distance. Does it look different?
Go back outside. You can see Inferno and Carr have already closed the distance. They've moved quite far, actually, in the time in which you were in there. But no, it looks the same.
What do we do with that information?
Sit on it and put the fire out.
On the rock? Put the fire out on the rock?
The building's on fire. Put the fire out.
I'm not stoned. I'm a sober person looking at a painting that's burning. I think I would go follow the Inferno and Carr then.
Okay, you chase after them. We'll cut over to Chopra, Weaver. You've been traveling for about an hour since you've left the site of the three sisters. The sky has become increasingly dark at a rapid rate. That Chopra, you probably are not too. You're probably somewhat oblivious to it, as it's really just colors to you, beautiful colors again. But Weaver, this is very fast. Like, this is fast as in this shouldn't happen this fast. But fairly soon, you see that by the light getting very, very dark, Weaver, you notice in the distance, and Chopra, you would see it too, there's a light up on a ridge.
And Weaver sees this?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Towards the light.
Yeah, maybe that's a signal. Maybe Price or Inferno or Carr are trying to signal to us.
Yeah, maybe. She will say absolutely as if she wasn't going to go there anyway.
And yeah, I think Weaver carefully makes our way.
Chipper is less careful.
Okay. So what we see for a moment is like this overhead view of this ridge. And from one side, we see three figures trudging through the sand. And from the other side, we see two figures trudging in what is kind of greenish desert terrain. And eventually, like, those groups meet. And as they climb up, the five of you can see each other. Some of you worse for wear than when you last saw. To some of you, it feels like 20 minutes ago. To some of you, it feels like a day ago. But that's not the strange thing. All of you see there's a bonfire in the middle of this ridge. 3 of you, those of you who consume the peyote, see that standing next to the bonfire is a tall man, no shirt, loincloth, and he has what appears to be a skull of a cow for his head. And he's kind of at this 12 o'clock position where Carr, Inferno, and Price are at like a 3 o'clock position, and then Chopra and Weaver are at like a 9 o'clock position. And he is kind of just staring directly over top of the fire, not looking to one side or the other. I need what's it called? A sand test from those who can see the figure.
Oh dear. Dear.
Success with a 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
35 failed.
Oh, buddy. Okay. Both of you take 1 point of sin.
I'm going to attempt to push this on a bond, otherwise I'm going to hit a breaking point.
Okay.
Like to
Okay.
I rolled a 4, but I only needed the 1 because it was just 1 sand. So I will also pass this off on my mother.
All right. So all of you are a handful, maybe 10 short paces away from the fire. What do you guys want to do?
I'll pace myself up there.
Okay. Inferno, as you get closer and you look at the man, you realize you're not quite sure whether that's a hat that he has over his head or whether the skull actually is his head, as there's no clear division in the neck when you come up. When you get close to see the only one moving up, all of you can move up, or none of you can move up.
Yeah.
Okay, so the peyote people do. Okay. What about Price and Weaver?
Yeah, Weaver's sticking with Chopra, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be circling the bonfire, just looking. I would imagine the kids did it, so that's what I'd be looking at.
As you stand here, those of you who can see this figure watch as his head turns first in the direction of Inferno and Carr, and then in the direction of Chopra and Weaver. And all of you can hear a voice suddenly say, "Decide now. Turn back and never reach this place again. Continue, and you may be lost."
What the hell is going on with all these voices? Did you hear that? I look towards Weaver, the other sober person.
You did. And I'm going to try and
the
look to see
voice
if I can
sorry.
see where it's coming from.
It's just on
The
the
guy
wind.
had a similar question. I was going to ask if the voice came from Cowhide guy.
Just on the wind, but you did see Chopra, his head move in your direction and over while the sound was happening.
What does this mean? We leave now, and we never come back? Or we move forward and then possibly never come back?
You hear it
In a very
The
different
wind.
sense.
The wind kind of crackles. Some may be lost. Some may be found.
Oh, hell, screw it. I'm in. Where am I going?
What do the rest of you do?
Is there a city here?
No response.
The building,
Is there any
anything.
other way to get in, or just that cleft?
No response.
Are you lost?
No response.
This is. I mean, we have to go forward. We have to find out what's happening.
No, we don't. I'm turning away. Trying to find a way back.
Okay. So Inferno turns and starts walking away from the fire and the ridge.
Chipper does as well.
Okay. Chopper turns and walks away from the ridge.
Very much a civilian.
Yeah. Car?
Looking towards car.
None of us should do any of these things alone.
Just like that, the bonfire winks out completely. Everything goes completely black for the three of you that are standing next to the bonfire still. The two of you that walked away, you definitely feel that the bonfire has dissipated. Like you don't see that orange glow on the hill. If either of you look back over, you see that the hill is completely empty. You don't see Price or Weaver or Carr, and you don't see the bonfire either, or the skull-headed man. Carr, Price, Weaver. In the blackness, you hear the same voice, but less distinct, as if it's kind of fading. And you hear it say, "You must not shed blood in the garden." And then we'll go ahead and stop there, and we'll pick up on that next time around.
Could have told me that before I made my choice. I've got one tool in my toolbox.
Okay. All right.
My gosh.
Oh man.
That is you get one tool in your toolbox for two. Okay.
What an amazing place.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a little tricky. The immediate division. I'm like, oh shit, how am I going to do this?
sorry.
I was like, stall, figure it out as you go. It's pretty fun.
You did great.
Okay.
I couldn't tell.
But we'll pick up. We'll pick up next time, which I imagine will be the end of Kingman. I think the next session will be the end of Kingman. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
So Weaver came with?
Melissa really wants to lose a character every case file.
Carr,
really
Weaver, and
does.
Price went with. Inferno and Chopra did not. I'm not really sure what to do with Inferno and Chopra, so I'll have to figure that out. We might not see Inferno and Chopra next session, actually, so we'll figure it out. I got to think on it. So let's go do some close-up plugs. We'll get on out of here. So, Stephen, as we so like to do, we like to hear so much about Huckleberry and all the wonderful things you're doing. So let's go ahead and turn to Maitre so she can talk a little bit about what she does on the internet. So go ahead, Maitre.
I feel so blessed because I haven't heard that joke in ages, it feels like.
It feels like it's been a long time, right? Yeah.
Feel like it's been a minute. But I am Maitre Plays Games on YouTube, and I did actually put a video out about Huckleberry earlier today. So if you are generally interested in videos that center the GM plays with tabletops and want to check that kind of thing out, you should check me out.
Fantastic. Links to everything, obviously, in the show notes. And I know Melissa just dropped it in Twitch. But if you're listening to this or watching this later, just check the description of the episode and you'll find links to everyone's stuff, including all of Steven's stuff. So, Steven, go ahead. Do your thing.
Hey, I've made a new game called Huckleberry. It's a Weird West game. It's pretty amazing. That's why Maitre puts videos about it on her channel. Thank you, by the way. That was a lovely conversation. I enjoyed having that with you. And thank you even more for the edit making me look better than I actually was. But yeah, HuckleberryRPG.com has all the good links. I've turned into a used car salesman selling this game. It's exactly like D&D or Elden Ring or Dark Souls. Pretty much any game that you like, Huckleberry is exactly like that, and there's no reason not to buy it. Here I'm just trolling Jeff, trying to hit all the buzzwords here. But yeah,
I've really been listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, folk horror in the Weird West, what's not to like? It's a lot of fun. Check it out.
Cool. There's also the consumptive. Look at that one.
I love that
big
one.
Belly.
Well,
Look at that big belly. I got me.
That's one of the ones I'm most proud of.
Yeah. Yep. Long got attacked by something like that last night. A little bigger though. So, but something similar. And it had hornets. Didn't you have bees when we did the other Wild West game? Wasn't there like a big consumptive that had bees or something? Hornets.
The consumptive. That image is actually a homebrew creature I made for our original Haunted West game. Yeah, so I just ported it over to Huckleberry.
Holy crap, that was
very
great.
nice. I did some boils and blisters and hornets last night, and then some brooms. So it was fun. Okay, so as for us, what do we got going on tomorrow? Speaking of Huckleberry, we're going to be playing some more as we've been playing the last couple of weeks in our usual Saturday slot. I think we're probably going to finish the Divine Comedy, but there is an outside chance that maybe we go another session, but we'll see how it goes. But we're pretty close to the end, I think. But there's a lot between now and the end, so we'll see how long that all takes. Then on Monday, we should be doing more Alien, another game we're very close to the end of. There's a decent possibility that Alien ends on Monday. If not, it'll certainly end sometime in the next 2 or 3 sessions. And then Tuesday, Steven, what are we playing?
We're playing Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition, Star Trek
heard
Adventures in Lollygagging. It's been a lot of fun, and we're dealing with some Romulans that have been spying on, stealing from a Federation colony. So yeah, we're getting to the bottom of that and seeing why the heck those Romulans would want to steal some grapes. That just doesn't make sense.
I mean, they could be good grapes.
They're really good grapes.
Do a lot of things with grapes. So
yeah.
All right. After Tuesday, Thursday is our next game with Simba Room, and next Friday we'll be back to Dragonbane, which we just recently started up. Aaron is in the GM seat for that, so come see our ragtag squad of absolutely ridiculous people. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's so
thanks.
fun.
It is. I like our crew, and Melissa has already nearly died from jumping, so it's pretty fantastic. We did half a session of play. The other half was designing characters, and she already almost got herself killed from jumping. I don't know. That's like a record, I think. It's pretty good. All right. Thanks for everyone for hanging out. We're going to rate our friends over at the Defenders. Follow the rate. Have a great rest of your night. Catch us tomorrow. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.